Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Brother 26 Roundtable podcast. I'm, of course, your host here, Taran Armstrong, and this is, of course, the podcast where we talk about everything from the feeds. We also rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they are doing in the game, and you are allowed to play from home at readyyyy.stockwatch.com, where you can buy and sell shares of the players week to week. And you also get a chance to rate yourself. Not rate yourself, the person, but rate yourself, the players. With the survey I send out every week, you have still roughly 20 minutes to go fill that out if you want to over on my Twitter. But we are here to talk about quite the week, quite the few days at the very least, because the house has been in chaos. It's been in turmoil. And nobody likes chaos and turmoil better than my first guest. It's Aman. How you doing, Aman?
Hi, I'm Aman, and I like chaos and turmoil. Thank you, Tara, for having me here on Stockwatch. Thanks. I'm back. We back, baby. It's me, Aman, and I'm back to tank your faves.
I'm just so happy that you're talking.
Yeah. I'm Aman. Why wouldn't I talk? I'm Aman. This is what I always do. You know, they said Chappell was going to be here. I said, nope, I'm Aman. It's me. So here we are.
The chat was very hyped for Aman, and here we are. We have Aman for you. Also with us tonight, it's Pooya. How you doing, Pooya?
As a self-rated 7 out of 10, I'm very excited to break things down and to probably, I was going to say, I'm not going to bless anyone's stocks. I think I'm only going to trash everyone's stocks. So I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
If you have stocks, I would be wary.
You know what's sad, Taran? I forgot to start Stockwatch for week 1. So I missed the week 1 mark. Last week, I was like, I'm not forgetting this week. Boom, bought stocks. I wish I would have forgotten. Would have been better, probably.
Opt out. See, this is a bad week. This is a bad week to be buying and putting your stock into anybody because these people are cracked, and you got me on this cracked ass panel. So, yeah, anything can happen. Clutch your stocks closely right now because I'm about to hurt some feelings.
Yes.
Potentially.
I think I got my buy-in with about 30 seconds to spare, as I literally just clicked the first person that seemed reasonable to me.
Oh my God.
We will see how that went for me. But I do have a feeling that the BB stock market might be looking a little bit like the US stock.
Oh God, what a week for the stocks. Not a good one.
No.
But we'll have to wait and see on that. Let's talk about the week. Of course, if you're listening to this podcast and you're wondering, wait, that didn't sound like Aman. That's because I think we have an imposter. I was expecting Aman, but for some reason Chappell is here.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's me, Chappell. Aman's gone now. Aman is gone, and I'm here. Like if Aman was going to be here, then I think it would have been fine. I think it would have been okay. This would have been a cool podcast. But I'm here. This was a chaotic week. We had to break glass in case of chaos and bring me in to add more chaos to the Stockwatch. So yes, no Aman, but definitely some Chappell action today.
All right. Well, let's get into it because there's a lot to recap. Of course, the last time we spoke, Chelsie was the HOH. And it was looking, we had Angela, Lisa, and Tucker on the block. And it was just a matter of, can Lisa win the AI arena competition? She, of course, did not. Tucker crushed it. And then that was followed up by a Cedric victory in the HOH competition. Cedric then nominated his own set of volunteers in Tucker, Angela, and Kenney, with the intention of making this a very easy, smooth HOH week, similar to Chelsea's, so similar that it was basically the same nominations. But there was a little bit of a problem. And that problem was the deepfake HOH. Not that it had been used against him, but that it was spreading around like wildfire. The secret that Quinn had been keeping very poorly had been spreading around. Angela had told Tucker that Quinn had the power. Tucker did not believe her. Could have ended there because she hasn't pushed it. But then Kimo confirmed to Tucker that Quinn had the power. And we later found out that Kimo, like Leah, has a bit of a crush on Tucker. And so we are, at first I was thinking this was Love Island. It turns out we're actually just watching The Bachelor. And Tucker is the Bachelor. And who's gonna take his heart?
They need him out of the game. Let me just go ahead and cut in, Taran. Tucker needs to go for these people to act like they got some damn sense. Because Leah is misted by Tucker and his aura, because Kimo is also misted. These things are happening. These unforced errors are happening just because this man exists. He's not even interested in these people at all, not even remotely. I think he actually kind of dislikes Leah. He seems like he's fine with Kimo, but to be in this house getting so blinded by the existence of this human. Get him out of there. When he leaves, all the message is gonna just dissipate, and then people are gonna start to wake up. Like, what happened? What was going on? Something's different. The mood has changed in here. It's like, yes, we can see clearly now because this cloud of Tucker is no longer here, blinding everybody and getting rid of all the common sense in the house. Taran, this is ridiculous.
You know how I know you're right, Chappell? As soon as you said that, I saw a wave of no, boo.
Yes, in the chat. Yes,
I was gonna say
no.
If I am someone who I would like to say I'm pretty familiar with my friend Chappell here. Chappell is 100 saying what he would do if he was in that house and there was someone he was infatuated with who was not giving him the time of day. He would boot them so quickly. He would do everything to get rid of them.
Absolutely. Especially if look, the more infatuated you are with this person, you see how your game is going to start to falter. We see these people making unforced errors because of Tucker. He's right there. He's a big ass target. Get him out the house, and then you can probably play a little bit better. Now, am I saying I want Tucker out for my TV viewing pleasure? No. The things we've seen from Tucker this week have been amazing. This is the type of stuff that I want to see on Big Brother. But if you're in this house and you can't even function because there's a person walking around ignoring you, you need him out of the game. But I guess we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Well, Tucker, with this knowledge, has been sitting, waiting, planning. He told first Joseph and then Cam about Quinn's power. Cam then told Cedric. They decided, screw Quinn. He didn't tell us. They gave Quinn multiple opportunities, all three of them, Cedric, Cam, and Joseph, separately. Opportunities to come clean. He still did not. And then Tucker came in hot with a pitch, a plan to backdoor Quinn, expose his power, expose his alliances, expose his final twos, and send him out the door this week. Now, for Tucker, in order to make this work, he needed to compete in the AI arena competition to beat Quinn. So he would, having won the veto, use it on Angela and not himself. Angela being the weakest competitor, the most likely to lose to Quinn in the AI arena competition. He would then stack the AI arena competition with himself, Kenney, and Quinn. They would beat Quinn. They would send him out the door. That was Tucker's plan. And it was not a great one, because Tucker does have this power. And Cedric is also in multiple alliances with Quinn. Quinn has this power.
Quinn has the power.
And Cedric is in multiple alliances with Quinn. And so after some discussing, some thinking, Cedric decided it is not the time. Taking this risk, if I take this shot and we miss for any reason, whether we don't get the votes or Quinn wins the AI arena competition, he then has a guaranteed HOH to take shots right back at me the following week, and my entire power structure disintegrates. So he decides he's not going to go through with the plan, and instead he's going to give Quinn a little bit of a warning that Tucker and Kenney are trying to pitch a plan against him. He also does give Tucker a warning that the plan is not a go, and he lets Tucker know that he should use the veto on himself and not Angela. Tucker doesn't care. Doesn't hear, doesn't feel, doesn't mind. He's going to go ahead and do what he wants. We talked about this morning. If you want more detail, check out the update. It was a long one, but it was very full of things. But basically, in Tucker's mind, I think he was like, well, if I use the veto on Angela, he has to put up Quinn. So I'm just going to do it anyway. So Tucker went ahead, did not use the veto on himself, used it on Angela. Cedric then replaced Angela with Makensy, who had planned to not use her veto power, which is a whole other thing. But because she was surprised by Tucker using the veto on Angela and not himself, she did use her power, took herself off the block, and now America will be naming the third nominee. And through all of this chaos, Tucker publicly outs Quinn's power, what he's been doing, why he thinks Quinn is a target, and forced Quinn to go on an apology tour, and went off on Cedric, calling him a rat, a blindsider, a betrayer. He said, "You're my primary target." He went after Cedric again later that day, and the whole house is still reeling from all of this, with Tucker and Kenney the only two guaranteed people on the block right now, still trying to figure out which of the two of them they should send out the door, and still trying to figure out who might join them on the block as the third nominee from America. And Pooya, that is the bare minimum of where we are right now.
Yeah, we're scratching the surface, wildly enough. It has been, I can't recall the last time a 24-hour period has been this chaotic as it was with going from, Sunday night all the way to here. It has been a lot. I'm not going to count Tuesday as part of it. I feel like the America's veto being in the air, kind of everyone's being a little too nice now after what was a wild time yesterday. But you could have sworn, if you tell somebody, hey, by the way, Tucker had the diamond power of veto, they could and should believe you because he was playing like he had the diamond power of veto. He was waving his power like he had the say on everything. And, you know, I've seen quite a few of the podcasters talk about the fact that with some of these quote unquote better players playing it so safe and not locking things down, even if they're chaotic, the loud vocal players are getting their way because they're putting stuff out there. And it really looked like that was going to be the lay of the land. That's what was going to work out until the spook that hits with regards to putting up Quinn that really derails everything. And I mean, Tucker was getting built up to do this all night. And you know, Tucker, once he puts his mind to something, he's not going to let it rest. And then so much so that he didn't even believe that Cedric gave him a heads up. He didn't read between the lines with regards to use it on yourself. And now the funniest thing to me was all of this Quinn throwing under the bus, only for it to be actually Cedric's my main target now. Quinn can be second. I'm moving on to Cedric first.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Especially because the other layer to this is that, oh yeah, so whoever ends up as America's vote, we're not going to vote that person out. We've already guaranteed, like we decided as a family, they're on the block, but that's not fair. That's not fair to them. So you might end up with a really juicy target up there sitting next to Kenney or something like that. And just because of, you know, for no reason really, we just decided amongst ourselves, we're just going to let that person make it. They might make it. But what if they don't? What if you end up on that block and everybody starts to wake up and realize that this person might be the person we need to get out? Then we could see another random ass flip in the house where people turn against somebody who thought that they were going to be okay. I'm loving the chaos right now. It's insane. And I need more of this. I stir the pot, flip, give them more powers. Taran, I know you hate it. I know you hate the twists and turns and stuff like, but I need this. I need more of this because you haven't slept in days, Taran. I know. The feeds are whooping your ass, but that's okay. Sacrifices must be made.
Listen, I've been pretty pro twist this season. Right from the get-go, I said there's a lot of promise to this. There are ways it could go wrong. I think there are ways that could go right, and I think we've seen both so far. And so far, honestly, maybe a little more right than wrong at the moment. And it's always hard to say. Well, not always, but it's sometimes hard to say. Like, is this the casting? Is this the twists? But whatever it is, I think we're getting good stuff. And I think that in terms of the America's nominee, the only thing to really talk through, I think, is probably the first name that comes to mind, the primary option that we will consider for America's nominee, probably Quinn. For a few different reasons. One was the involvement in the Angela stuff a few episodes back. I think exactly the kind of like fodder for casual fury to be involved in like a conversation about race.
Oh yeah.
On top of that, he has this kind of like cocky attitude in the DR that could very easily be construed or portrayed to be like villainous, especially as we're talking about the Wednesday episode, which I think is going to be the most important one.
Yeah.
But then even beyond that, he is going to be the subject of the Wednesday episode. The big move that wasn't ultimately made. The person that I think a lot of people who are watching the show will feel would cause the most drama if they put him up anyway. So for many different reasons, probably more than I even just mentioned, Quinn is the most likely candidate. Not the only one. I've seen plenty of Joseph. I've seen plenty of Cam. I've even seen a little bit of Leah. But we mentioned this morning. I think ultimately it's going to come down to what is in that Wednesday episode. We saw Ryan in Big Brother Canada 6 gets saved by Canada despite being like ignored and or just disliked throughout most of the season. He had
One
good
episode. One episode. That last episode before that vote concluded, the hero edit he got is what got him off the block and what got Canada's own favorite screwed because the renom was Erica, who everyone loved, and she went home that night.
Exactly. So do not underestimate the edit of that episode. But with that in mind, Quinn is also the person who is probably most likely to be voted out if he hits that block.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that he will be voted out, but things are definitely not certain at this point for Quinn. Primarily if he ends up on the block against Tucker, which is the least likely option. It would require Kenney to beat both Quinn and Tucker in the AI arena, which if we're going by the first 2 weeks of competitions, not super like totally likely, I should say. If we're going by like the last 3 competitions, like no, probably not. But who knows? And if it's Quinn versus Tucker, we've gone through these. We went through these this morning, but basically, it could be a very split vote. It could be 6-5, as close as 6-5. And with people like T-Core and Kimo potentially wavering, there are some issues there. And then also relying on a player like Joseph to be a swing. Like there are definitely ways where Quinn could still leave this week. And that is a very real possibility at the moment.
I want the most drama. If that means Quinn goes up but survives the week, that's fine with me. Because I think the backlash at that point would be better. You know, Quinn stays in. We know what Quinn's probably going to do. I mean, he has this HOH power. So if he sticks around, we get to see what it looks like when he decides to take control. We like to see the back and forth. To me, the best situation here is that we just go ahead and lose Kenney. It'd be great. He doesn't want to be here. He complains about being in the game all the time. You know, if you put Quinn up and Kenney goes, whatever. But if we lose a chaotic force like Quinn or like Tucker this week, the show is going to suffer. We are going to be stuck with Kenney. And I just can't give any credit to somebody who's just begging constantly to get voted out of the game. If you're boring, fine. If you're not on the feeds that much, fine. But to be on the feeds crying about how you want to go home when you can just go home, I just can't support that. And so give me whatever is going to cause the most chaos. But by no means do I want either Tucker or Quinn to go this week. Kenney, it is your time.
Yeah,
I agree. I think there's not going to be a better week to lose Kenney. Like losing Kenney on a chaotic week like this is absolute best case scenario because under most other circumstances, a Kenney being voted out week is the most boring week of the season because he volunteers for the blog. He basically begs to be voted out and they finally grant his wish and there's no other gameplay happening. But for him to be the person that leaves on the back of this week, leaving both Tucker and Quinn and Cedric and everybody else still in the game, still mad at each other. The only downside being that Quinn is basically guaranteed the HOH next week. But like at the very least, you know, that could still easily result in like an MJ or Leah leaving, which I wouldn't be that mad about at this point.
I also think there's a good bit of drama to consider if, say, because obviously, even though a lot of his relationships right now, Quinn's, are strained because of the stuff that happened yesterday, there's also a world where he still feels secure with someone who wins the HOH, and he's not going to want to snatch it from their hands. And then maybe that person puts him up later on because he can't, once he decides not to use it after the noms, it's over. So that's drama I would like to see. I would like to see that happen. That could be interesting to me. My whole thing with twists are, I've loved the America's Veto, the deepfake HOH. I like giving a power to somebody and they want it through a comp. I'm cool with this. I think two things. Number one, put a rule in that they can't tell anybody, penalty vote. We've seen Canada do this before. That's definitely the move. But also the counter argument is now we wouldn't have gotten all this mess that we got this week. But the other thing for me is I personally do not want the audience to get someone out of the game, essentially. And that's the biggest thing for me. And obviously, Quinn being the top candidate, I think you put anybody up there. I don't want anyone to go out as a result of us at home getting to decide. That was Big Brother 1. I don't want that here. I still want Kenney's ass out. I'm sick of playing hot potato of, I want to go home, but I want my money, but I want to go home. 750 isn't worth it. But if I get a comp, I'm not going to throw it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. It does nothing for me. A lot of people in that house are sick of it. Mercy, kill this guy out of the game so we can get to the meat and potatoes of the season. That's what I want more than anything. And I think that all the drama we got now. Because I think a lot of people are like, for the drama on Thursday, we need Quinn up. And my thought is, what drama? We've seen for 2 weeks, Julie's begging them to do something with the drama of like talk to people, go one-on-one. Quinn going up, you'll get like maybe 2 minutes of drama if it's Quinn versus Tucker, right? And then Kenny's still there next week on the feeds. Kenny's still there saying he wants to quit and then feeds cut. We've been talking about how we don't want feed cuts. At least Angela now, it's gotten less. But Kenney literally has threatened to quit so many times that if he just breathes, they're like, quit. He just said, quit, cut the feed. Like, I don't need that. Please.
Yeah. And it would be so interesting, too, to see Tucker with his back against the wall next week, knowing that Quinn has the ability to do this HOH thing. You know, Tucker has he's got this big plan. He's out at this, everything that's going on in the house. And he's really good socially. People are just throwing their games away just because he walks by. And so I would love to see, okay, let's see how good he is. If we see him up against some opposition next week, that would be so cool. But if Kenney stays, Tucker just going to go back to being Tucker. And I'm like, we need more chaos. We need more mess. We need to get rid of the non-factor. I'm sorry, Kenney, it's you. So I don't know what has to happen. I don't know where people are going to vote. But at the end of the day, my result is going to be the same. I'm going to need Kenney to walk out of this door on Thursday.
Yeah. And hell, if people want the maximum drama with Quinn, I have no issue with Quinn being nominated, to be very clear. I have no problem with him being the replacement. But I still want Kenney out. I'm still rooting for Kenney and going out over anybody. I'm rooting for Kenney going out before. I don't even have a joke. I just want him out. There's no joke. I'm not laughing. No ha-has here. Get rid of him.
Yeah. Sam.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
I for what it's worth, I do not think that Quinn is the best person to vote in if you are hoping for a Kenney eviction. Quinn is probably the worst person because Quinn is, I think, the only person that could have a chance at leaving against Kenney on the block. If Quinn loses the numbers like Rubina and Tikor, then he will leave against even the likes of Kenney, which would be unfortunate. And I do agree with Pooya as well. I hate audience votes. Everyone knows this. In particular, when Pooya, when you say that like you don't want us to decide who might leave, the reality from my perspective is I don't like it because it's not really us that decides. It's production. It's how they decide to edit the players that provokes the response in the audience that then gets the result that they ultimately want. Audience voting is just a tool for producers to manipulate the game. It is their most overt way of doing so. There's conspiracy theories about other ways that they do so, when this one is the most obvious and blatant and major one that is right in our face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to show us what they think they will elicit a response. You know, if we see this next episode, Quinn is dejected and crying and down and out, and they're playing the hero music, then Quinn will probably get saved. But if they give us the Quinn is the villain, he's cocky, everybody's turning against him, all the house wants, you know, like then the audience is going to go wherever the edit shows us. And that's why you got the feedsters, you got the audience, and then you know, the casual audience, and then you got the vote. And it's really going to come down to who ends up on the block and then what Quinn does in the meantime. Between now and the eviction, he's got to start making sure that he's in good standing with a lot of these people because, like you said, Taran, it's going to be a close vote.
And like the proof is in the pudding. Look at the first 2 weeks of the show, where that first week, Angela's made to look like the villain so much so that Matt comes home to sympathy edits and bouquets of flower from the casuals who have only seen the episodes and don't know better. And Angela's like this evil witch who like really like takes this poor young boy to task and calls him out and disses his mom and blah, 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 blah. That was the power of the edit right there. Proof is in the pudding. So which is why I think Wednesday's big episode. And this is my other thing is I'm very curious to see what happens Wednesday, because I think they would like for the power to be a big part of their episode next week, their episodes next week. They want the deepfake HOH in the mix. I don't think they want Quinn to go, but then the question is, if that's the case, how are you going to edit it? Or Taran, do you think otherwise? Do you think they want it to be gone? Do you think they want to flush it?
I don't know. Like, I don't think it's super simple to predict what they want. I think that like for them, what they really wanted to have happen, for instance, with Battle of the Block, is that they really wanted one of the HOHs to be dethroned and sent home. And it would not surprise me if they were like, you know, foaming at the mouth at the possibility of Quinn misplaying his power, this cocky little super fan, and then gets voted out right before by America, right before he can even use the power. I think that's a very compelling storyline, especially given that everyone already knows about it now. It's probably not going to play out very well for television anyway. And this is probably the most dramatic way of now utilizing this power. So I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made in the other direction for sure.
Well, there's also 4 episodes next week. There's an extra Tuesday episode next week. So I don't know what they're filling that one up with, but if they need content, I don't know. We'll find out. And I've seen people ask, like, who are you endorsing for? I don't do that. I don't do I'm endorsing anybody for anything. This isn't a who do you want to give 25 grand to or 50 grand to because you like them. This is, I don't want to tamper in the game, but I will throw this out there, and this is not an endorsement. It's just fun commentary on the show. Comedically, I think it'd be funny if Joseph went up after the stuff he's been saying about how it couldn't be him. Because Joseph, my man, you're a supposed super fan, right? You've watched RHA for 10 years. You're about this life. In what world can you fathom the idea that someone who's not on the show, not in the edit of the show, is going to get voted to put up? How is that even a thing?
Yeah, a part of me was thinking, okay, Joseph can go. A part of me was thinking Joseph can go because he's really not bringing. But Joseph has so much potential. You know, I just see that like if you let Joseph get too far, I think Joseph could do some real damage late in the game, and that's when the game gets the most boring. And so I'm trying to maximize my television viewing pleasure. And I'm also like you, Pooya. It's something about when Big Brother players play poorly that you kind of want to see their poor playing produce negative results, you know? So although I don't want Tucker to go, sir, you put yourself on the block. And then when people told you not to use the veto on yourself, you told them, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And then you accused them all of trying to backstab you when they told you to your face that you should not do this. Julie Chen needs to take that little note card, and just pop him upside the head again, because that's where I'm like, that's classic Big Brother for me. You doing the thing that everybody is at home is yelling, why are you doing this? What is wrong with you? And then finding out what happens when you F around, you know? And so a part of me wants that chaos. A part of me would love to see something like a non-factor like Joseph go out, but the Kenney. You know, you say you don't want to endorse anything, Pooya. I am not. I've never said that once in my life. Last year, I told y'all who I was voting for all the time. Cerise. Before that was Taylor. I've always been straightforward. I am a single issue voter here. I'm anti-Kenney. He can go. It's time.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the survey results.
Oh yeah, true.
Yes, I sent out a survey where I asked the audience to rate the players, but also some other questions. One of which is the classic: rank the players from your favorite to your least favorite. Do you guys have a prediction of who is at the top of this ranking?
Of your favorite from the cast. This is an interesting week for you to put that question out. Chappell, you want to discuss together? You want to work on as a team on this one?
Yeah, let's eliminate some people. Okay.
Well,
Judging by what we've seen for who people want to go up on the block, we know it ain't Quinn.
It ain't Joseph and it ain't Cam.
And it ain't Joseph and it ain't Cam. Okay, because people are ready to throw them to the wolves. I'd argue that it's probably not Kenney. You know, just gonna throw that out there. Let's go out on a limb. Have you ever seen Rubina on the show?
Not on the episodes really, but on the feeds, yeah. I still don't think she's on the list either, or in the top spot. I think between T4, Chelsie, and honestly, because of the gift of chaos he's given, Tucker is kind of the three I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's really hard not to see Tucker as a favorite because, I mean, he is giving good feeds and we love good feeds. He's insane for putting himself in this position. It'd be really hard for me to say that Tucker is probably not the favorite. So that's where I would guess as well.
All right.
For this week, makes sense.
Says Tucker, Pooya.
I mean, I said we're going to do it as a unit, so I back my guy, Chappell.
You're back.
I mean, unless you want to switch to somebody else. I mean, could you entertain Cedric? We know it ain't Leah. Ain't Leah. No Cedric. All right.
No.
Okay, pause. Last chance. Angela?
No.
Okay. I think we gotta go with. I think
we peaked. Yeah.
I think we peaked. Yeah.
All right. Well, I can tell you last week the top spot went to T-Core. She barely edged out Kimo. This week, the top spot went to T-Core again.
Damn.
By a much larger margin this time. She is out there in front on her own.
Oh, there's a big gap between first and second.
Yes.
Ooh.
Look at her. Who's in second?
Well, can we unpack that real quick? Because I think there's a couple of reasons why. For one, obviously, T-Core, I've applauded her for this. Probably the best listener the house has seen in ages. Absolutely great ally, listens to her allies, lets them vent, talks game with them, all that good stuff. I think there's a little bit of heat on her allies, though, for keeping her in the dark. Kimo, I'm looking at you for not sharing this Quinn information with her either. So I can definitely see that.
Yeah, she's very inoffensive.
What I will tell you is T-Core is in front by a bigger margin, but her overall score is actually lower than it was last week. So basically everyone kind of like consolidated a bit more. She was more of a favorite. Like more people chose her last week, but more people spread out this week. And she is now like solely at the top, but with a lower overall score.
So it's
the cream rises to the top. You see that?
Are you saying that like first place, there's this gap, but then the rest of the graph kind of looks chonky because it's just more wider with everyone kind of like right next to each other?
Yes. Last week there were like tiers: top tier, middle tier, middle bottom tier, bottom tier, bottom tier. Whereas this week it's more like T-Core, a bunch of people, bottom tier.
Yes, T-Core and her fans. Yes, T-Core. I like it. I like that she can still be. I think she has a good showing on the episodes. I do. I think that the way she handles the Angela situation probably like it doesn't hurt. And then also watching her in the house, she's a real good listener. She's actively playing the game, and she hasn't really pissed anybody off to this point. So I think she's very rootable.
All right, I'm gonna go one more. Who is in second place?
So last week it was Kimo, is what you told us, right?
Last week was Kimo.
It ain't gonna be Kimo this week. I'm willing to.
Don't think so. You think it's
No.
you think it's a fall off for Kimo?
I'll tell you, top 5 last week was the Visionary Alliance that never came together. T-Core, Kimo, Quinn, Tucker, Rubina.
Well, it didn't come together this week either. Okay. I mean, Chappell, I don't know about you, man. I still think Chelsie or Tucker is a shout here.
See, I let my Tuckerness go, but I was willing to go with Chelsie and they maybe even Brooklyn. You know, they've seemed to remain above the fray a lot this week. So whoever you want to go with, I pushed the Tucker. We can go with Chelsie if that's what you want to do.
You know what? We followed you with Tucker. Let's back me with Chelsie this time. Let's go Chelsie.
Chelsie is closer. Chelsie is in 3rd.
Ooh.
Okay.
Chappell, you touched on it. It's actually Brooklyn in 2nd place.
Brooklyn.
Wow,
see?
there we go.
Yeah. Okay, I feel it.
I think there's something to be said because I did see quite a bit of reactions about T-Core being number 1 here again. I think there's something to be said about in a house of chaos and people offending each other and stepping on each other's necks that the inoffensive ones can be ranked higher because everyone else is doing a lot. And Brooklyn is someone who I applaud what I've been seeing from Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn is someone who, coming into the season, a lot of us had our doubts. She mispronounces Taylor's last name and is associated with a house guest by the name of Aaron from BB15. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with Brooklyn. But now I'm actually liking what I'm seeing with Brooklyn. So I'm not quite mad at this, to be honest.
She's married and she's a mother. And this poll proves it. You know, it reinforces that. And I think you're right. I think she's above the fray again. You know, you have Chelsie, you have T-Core, you have Brooklyn, who are not really in all of this mess. The things that other people are doing that are off-putting that would make you not vote for them, they're not doing those things. The Tucker, the anti-Tucker people, they're not anti those people. The Quinn has anti-people. You know, we listed all these people that we could just count out from the beginning because they're in all the drama. And so by remaining above it, but still active, you know, still doing stuff in the game, I think it made a good showing for them. And that's why they're getting rewarded with these votes.
Yep, Brooklyn, it's been a slow climb from the bottom. First week, she was 5th from last, only above Lisa, Makensy, Matt, and Kenney. Then last week, she rose to about the midpoint, right in the middle of the pack. And now this week, right on top in 2nd place. I think a good example of sort of like what we talked about in the preseason, where there was this hesitation, the skepticism of like, okay, she has some kind of relationship with Aaron. That's concerning. But we'll see in the house what she's like. And I think so far, to my knowledge, haven't really seen anything to indicate that that means anything. Right. Mm-hmm. There's been no bad behavior, no weird comments. So like, me personally, I'm judging her by the actions that she's taking in the house. And so far, there's no reason to feel like, to feel like there's anything overtly wrong. And in fact, she's been very good in the game. And is in a pretty decent position right now. So top 3, T-Core, Brooklyn, and Chelsie, with Kimo dropping down from 2nd to 4th.
Okay.
Cedric with a little bit of a rise up to 5th place. Quinn dropping from 3rd to 6th. Tucker dropping from 4th to 7th. Big drop for Tucker. And then Rubina also dropping from 5th to 8th. So there's been a similar to in the house so far. There's been a Tucker effect of if you are connected to Tucker, you are dropping in the popularity charts.
Damn. Interesting.
He in there showing his ass. I thought y'all liked good feeds.
Yeah, what
happened?
Here's the thing. This is just popularity. I think the thing about villains, the thing about loving drama is that I think people love to hate people. So they might not want Tucker out necessarily, but they do want to maybe hate him or love him. So they either hate him or love him.
So Taran, just so, because I've not filled the form out myself this season, remind me, is this you have people rank their favorite from 1 through 14?
Yes.
Okay, then 100% this makes a lot more sense. It's not a pick your favorite. It's rank them, because people who really like, say, Quinn are going to tank Tucker. People who really like Tucker will tank Quinn. Everyone kind of balance each other out, which is why, again, You get
Nobody's
the top-
tanking T-Core, nobody's tanking
No,
Brooklyn, nobody's
they're
taking
keeping their
Chelsea.
same rankings or better, right? So they're going to be in a good spot. That makes a lot more sense to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? I'm looking now. Tucker and Angela have the largest spread of results for people that either love them or hate
them. Yep.
Ones or tens.
So there you
Sounds
go.
about right.
So yes, it goes Tucker, Rubina, Joseph, Angela, Leah, Makensy, Cam, and Kenney.
Okay.
So
Cam?
it's a pretty distinct bottom four there.
Yeah. Cam, you did this to yourself. Why all this back and forth with Leah? God, let it go.
Chappell, did you see the photo I put of him leaning by the fridge and staring into Leah's soul yesterday?
Down bad. He down bad, man.
Horrendous.
He is. And I think that's really what it comes down to for him. Like, nobody wants to see the schmoopy, but also like the whining and complaining to her, the arguing for hours about nothing that has to do with the game, just because you really like the girl. Like, whoo, Cam, stand up, brother, stand up.
Yes. They're asking for the bottom four again. The bottom four is Leah, Makensy, Cam, and Kenney in that order toward the bottom, Kenney being at the bottom. So with that in mind, I also asked the audience, who do you plan to vote for to put on the block come Wednesday night?
Okay. This will be easier, I think, Chappell.
I'd have to say this is Quinn, right? Like, from what I've been seeing, it's a pretty
There's
overwhelming.
a pretty clear leader.
We got to keep in mind, this is, I don't know, because like obviously this is the RHAP audience, but I'm also I've been reading the chat throughout, so I'm not trying not to let that impact me. But it's like this is the community that's voting for it. But I still think Quinn is number one.
Yeah.
Then it could be Cam, Joseph, or Joseph Cam. That's kind of the top three to me.
America did say she wanted Cam up, and this is America's veto. So I would have to say
slop bump behind the paywall.
Yeah. The slop bump, the footage leaked.
It did leak.
We keep the slop behind the paywall, but the footage leaked, and there is footage of America saying Cam's boring on the show, so he should go. And so I could see people, the AmeriCorey stands, lining up to vote against Cam, but Quinn has to be number one. I think Cam might be number two.
Chappell, I think someone in the chat.
I don't know who that is. Is that Amon?
Amon in the chat, in very Tucker-like style, says, "You know what you did, Chappell? Count your days."
Oh, Amon. What a brilliant
boy
from the chat.
Well,
in Quinn, let's lock in Quinn. Taran.
With 36% of the vote, the top vote getter, Cam.
Okay.
AmeriCorey stands up.
That's that America bump.
Yeah, it's America's veto for a reason. Who came in second, Taran?
In second place with 25% of the vote, Quinn.
Okay.
See, we had it. We were on the right track.
In third place with 17% of the vote,
Joseph or Leah?
Joseph.
Oh, we nailed the top three. There we go.
Yeah, we had it.
And then not too far behind with 14% of the vote, Leah.
Yep.
Okay.
The next person has 2% of the vote, and it's Angela. And that's because I forgot to take her out before.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Okay. So there's a very, very clear top four. It's Cam, Quinn, Joseph, and Leah.
Yeah.
2% is wild for Angela. Like, Angela has been a lightning rod for drama, and she has been saying some mean things. She's been bullying people in the house. She's been yelling about people's eyes and all kinds of stuff, coming up with whole monologues. And we're like, nah, she can't go yet. It's not time.
My favorite thing about Angela is that the TV viewers, the casuals, have been counting her days, right? They know the America's video is going to come up. They're like, when that comes up, we're going to put her up ourselves. And Angela's done everything to prevent that by volunteering to go up or being willing to go up. And she's just thwarted their plans every time. And come Wednesday, when they see that she makes it off the block once again, and now they have to vote, it's going to be so fun. Let me tell you, I'm going to enjoy that.
That's the thing too. It's really, I'm so interested to see how they portray this. Like, do they portray it in a way that makes the audience want this to happen? Or are they mad that this happened because they didn't want Angela off the block and they
Right.
like who knows at this point.
Can she go back up now that she's already been vetoed?
Oh, veto is a veto. It's done.
Yeah, so that's another reason why people didn't vote for her. They're like, we can't get it this time. We can't.
You know how in Big Brother 15 when they went MVP to nominee and got all of them, if they put Angela's name on that texting list, she will get the most votes, and whoever's second will be the one that goes up.
That'd be a great way for them to do it. It would completely neutralize the casual vote.
Yeah, that'd be so funny.
All right, I asked the audience to rate the episodes this week. Last week, the audience gave the episodes a 5.5 out of 10. Now, for reference, in Big Brother 25 last season, week 3 got a 4.6. Not a good week for episodes in Big Brother 25. This week, this season, the episodes got a 6.1.
Okay. So this
up from last week, up from last season.
So the Wednesday, the veto, the eviction, and then Sunday's episode are part of this.
I think normally when you're doing the Stockwatch ratings, you're probably mostly thinking of eviction and Sunday. But technically you are also grading the veto episode. So this week, this coming veto episode will be graded in the next week's Stockwatch, but it is usually the furthest from mine.
I thought it was 2 good episodes. Leon and I watched the Sunday episode on delay because we were not available to watch Sunday night. And far be it for me to say, but the love triangle edit, that was funny to me. The saxophone, I had a good time with it. It was good. I enjoyed that.
What's going on last year, week 3? They got them a 4. Was this must have been where Heisem was getting voted out, right? Because it had to be, because that's the only way I could see people being like, what are we watching? What's really happening right here? It's got to be the Heisem.
Yes, week 3 was Felicia's HOH reign. They were taking out Heisem. It was right before the really good Heisem backdoor episode.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on in the house, and none of it was being represented in the episodes. Izzy was not a person in the episodes, and so I think it was
still a mistake.
They were spending like half of the episode on comps every episode, so it was like very bad episodes. For reference, last season the episodes were a 4.6 in week 3, the feeds an 8.1, so a dramatic disparity. This week, this season, the feeds a 7.9. So not quite the 8.1 of last season, but very good, very impressive, especially compared to last week, where the feeds got a 4.7. So a big boost from last week into this week for the feeds, which makes sense because they were on.
Well, I feel like the whole cursed week 3 of it all that we've been getting a trend of now, like that always has been delivering good feeds. So I'm like, 24 would have probably delivered good feeds there as well. What happened week 3 of 23?
That would have been was that when Christian?
No, Frenchie goes week 2. Was that the Brent Champagne week?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, because it was at first it was Kyland and then it was Xavier.
Yeah.
I don't know. Waiting for Brent to go home that week was great for me. You know.
I mean, if you give me a second, I can give you what the ratings were for BB23.
Oh, we would love that.
Oh, please do, because I remember patiently waiting on Brent to realize that he had just made a massive error. You know,
he's so arrogant too.
Yeah,
week 3 is the new gold standard to me. Like this, every year now, I'm going to be waiting for bated breath for week 3 and what it's going to offer us.
Okay, so
go ahead. Yes,
Big Brother 23. First of all, the audience's favorite player was Tiffany, followed by Derek X. The episodes were a 7.0, and the feeds were a 7.4.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whew, I remember those days, man.
Okay. Now do BB22.
Nope. Shut it down. Shut it down.
Oh boy.
Crying at home.
Yeah, I called BB22 Big Brother All Stars, so it's harder to find. We also did the Legacy watch that season, so it was like very. Here we go. All Stars player ratings week 2, for BB22. Let's see, week 3. Who's the favorite? Oh, that was with the Legacy. There's a weird season. 6.5 episodes.
Okay.
Highest of all of them except for BB23. And
Wow.
7.2 feeds.
We were starving, Taran. We had nothing going
We had
on. We had
nothing.
nothing.
We had nothing. Okay, isn't Janelle getting voted out week 3? You know, we was going through. That's all we had.
Man. Okay. So rate the season as a whole so far. My tabs are a little messy now, so I'm gonna have to quickly double check. This was BB23. We're gonna close that one. Okay. Last week, the season as a whole was given a 6.7. This week, it's back up to a 7.1. Compare that to the 7.7 of last season.
Okay, solid. This is solid. You know,
solidly
Big Brother
in there.
we're talking about 6-ish. That's normal. You know, we see the product. Look at the material. You can be the judge of it. 6.6. Kudos, Big Brother. Good job, Julie.
So I asked the audience also to rate Cedric's HOH reign. Last week, Chelsie got a 5.7. This week, Cedric got a 5.0.
Okay.
Right smack dab in the middle.
A little fancy Finsterton for me, but okay.
Should have been a little. Yeah, I feel like a little under 5 probably. What? I don't want you to look through more data, so I won't ask.
I'm already going through to Big Brother 24.
Skip
BB24. We need to know BB24. Big Brother 24. The episodes were a 5.2. The feeds 9.0.
Delicious. Well, I mean, we started with what feeds at like 1.3 probably with how rough.
This was the leftovers week.
Exactly. This was a very monumental moment for us.
The best day of my life.
All right. I asked the audience to rate the AI arena twist. And I've been tracking this all season long because it's basically like first impressions. What were they? The first impressions of the AI arena twist of 4.7. Then in week 2, 6.2. They had gone up. This week, 6.0. So
a little lower.
Little bit low. I think if this survey had gone out a couple of days ago, this would have been way lower because people were really down on the twist. They felt like it was really encouraging all this volunteering, which may or may not be true. I also asked about the upgrade downgrade twist, meaning the powers in play. Initially, first impressions 4.5. Last week a 4.8. It had gone a little bit up. This week a 4.9.
Growing.
I imagine the AI of it all, the challenge and stuff included with the third nominee. I think it's cool when the people you're rooting for are winning, right? And when you think it's equitable. I think that first week where we see, they go into the competition and Kimo beats somebody, we're like, oh, Kimo won. Okay. And we see the challenge. We're like, oh, that was fair. That looked like everybody could do it. But now it looks like we're starting to get back to some of our old Big Brother stuff. And I think if the fans start looking at it and saying, these ain't equitable no more, you're just picking a third nominee to go up there and win some physical challenge, I think it's going to start to skew in a downward trajectory. And so I'd be interested to watch this number moving forward if they keep doing this. We don't have any reason to believe they're going to do this much longer. We're almost to jury, right?
Probably one more is my guess, right? Typically in 4s, most things will end here.
I'll tell you the vibe I get from these ratings for the upgrade downgrade twist. I think that in general, the audience doesn't like it, but it hasn't really failed us yet.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of giving this week. And so we're like, fine, you're doing okay, but like you're still not a doctor, son. So you know what I mean? Like, like you're still not making me proud.
Yeah.
So
When the competition is like, be the best cop out of the 3 nominees, and we find out that Kenney won. That's when we're like, bro, that's time.
Oh, and also, not for nothing, I think depending on who wins the HOH next week, because obviously assuming that Quinn will take over, if Angela wins HOH and Quinn takes it over, expect some people to be upset about it.
Yeah.
But if Italian sausage sweet Kenny K is still there and wins it, and Quinn takes it over, those ratings go up. So I think depending on that could impact something next week too.
Yes. Well, speaking of, ask the audience, who do you want to be evicted this week? And with 72% of the vote,
make some noise.
Sweet Kenny K.
Yeah.
Woo!
Look,
not high enough, but we'll take it.
Kenny's resistance to play the game and his insistence on quitting is why I want him out of the house. Now, if Kenney for some reason stays in this game, I only want him in the house. He's going to have a showmance with Angela. If there's no showmance, I don't want it. Kenney, you and your sweet sausage can go. Unless you
people are really up on this showman.
It's me. I'm pushing it. I'm pushing the showmance.
There are people I think that genuinely believe it could happen. It's not happening.
Because it can. It can
it's
happen.
Funny, but it's not.
Don't. It actually it's funny and it will happen. Thank you.
Let him dream, Taran. Let him dream. Let him fantasize.
Can you understand the mess? Y'all don't see what we got in front of us. This man who got these pineapples and this woman with a hall pass and they're both unhinged and he's trying to quit the game. She's begging him not to go. Cinema, take my money.
This is a script for a movie.
Yeah, a movie that I want to see. If Kenney goes, send Angela out next, because then I'm gonna follow them on TikTok and find out what happens. We following up on this. This is some freaky shit, and I want to see it.
All right. Well, second place with 14% of the vote, Tucker. They'd like to see Tucker leave, 14%. And then with 10% of the vote, Quinn. And then I put other, and there's 3% that put other. What I found interesting, because theoretically, but anyway, what I found interesting is that there are 25% of the audience that plan to vote for Quinn to be nominated, but only 10% of them want Quinn to actually be evicted. Which to me reads, you are the kind of person that would volunteer for the block.
They play with fire. They are. You really are. You're putting up somebody who is just so tempting to vote out and being like, but I need them to stay because I need the mess. It's a thin line, like it's a tightrope at that point to walk.
I want both, right? You wanna? He's like, why can't I order off both menus? You want maximum chaos. You want Quinn to go up, but you also don't want him to leave. You still want Kenney to leave. But you're like, but I want to see it all. And
I need to see it.
One is worth for some of this percentage. One is worth the risk for the other. Is kind of the vibe.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, that is the survey. Are we ready to rate players?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
The portion of the podcast where we rate the players from 1 to 10 based on how well we think they're doing in the game. The criteria can be whatever you want. It could be who is Amon's favorite. It could be...
Wait, yeah. Pause. Who snitched? How did Amon know that I did the Amon thing? I know he didn't start this podcast from the beginning. Which one of y'all told on me? Huh?
Yeah.
I see y'all chat. It's the Twitch chat. That's who it is. The YouTube chat wouldn't do me.
They want Chappell. They want you to do chaos, but then they'll rat you out. See?
Chappell, I did see Kimo's name in the chat earlier.
Okay. It's starting to make sense now. All right. I knew I couldn't trust y'all. That's all right. See if I be a mod next time.
All right. Okay. Let's talk about these players. We will start with Angela. Angela. She is safe another week. Safe from the block. Safe from America. And who's looking at Angela as a target anytime soon at this point? Quinn no longer has any real reason to target her because she no longer is a threat to his game beyond the threat of her winning a competition, which they all think she's basically incapable of, despite the fact that she has already won a competition. And so I really do feel like she has some legs in the game. Last week I gave her a 1 because she was doing some silly things. And she's still doing some silly things. But at least now she will be continuing to do silly things for many weeks to come, probably. So there's really not much more for me to say on that. It's not like I think she has a great chance to win this game, but I do think she has a not terrible chance of getting like 2 jury votes. And so for that reason, I'm going to give Angela a 3 this week.
Yeah, I think the person who benefited the most from the events of the house this week is probably an Angela, who kind of had been left sentenced to being on the block until her inevitable departure. So much so that before the whole blow up, the night before, we saw a lot of the house basically come to the consensus of, all right, so Kenney this week, and then we kick Angela out. We have a 2-week safety. We just get ourselves further. We can all agree on this. That's easy enough. Now, with all the outbursts and all the yelling, I could see this going in many different ways. Listen, let's be clear. Angela could still end up on that block and could still be you know what, whatever. I'll just get rid of her. It could still happen, but you can't argue against the fact that she's in a better spot this week than she was last week. Okay. So I think a 3 is valid, Taran. I think a 3 is valid. And because I would like to, you know what? I'm going to drop, I'll give her a 2. She improved. She benefited from that last week. Let's see where she goes next week. Work for that 3 from me.
Chappell.
Listen, I love Angela as much as the next person, but she ain't doing nothing to keep herself in this game. She's actively trying to play her way out of the game. Every time we look at her, she is trying to play her way out of the game, and she's not. She just happens to be overshadowed by all of the craziness that's going on with the Tucker, the Quinn, the powers, all that kind of stuff. I have no faith in her to win the game. If she were to win it, I would be very shocked and be very happy for her, honestly, because if you can pull yourself out of this type of hole, then go for it. But I don't have any faith in Angela right now. I think that eventually people will wake up and see that, like, okay, she's still here. We need to get her. Or she is a losing finalist that nobody is worried about ever at any point ever again in the game if she makes it past the, into the jury phase. I think Angela's win condition is to make every episode about her, and she's not doing it. She's not doing it. Right now, we're not talking about Angela. And so because of that, I can't give her a 3. I have to give her a 2 because she's failing. She's not being the great TV that she's supposed to be. She's not getting a lot of fights. She's not controlling the game. She's not in a dominant position. What are you doing? She's just not on the block. She's getting a 2 from me.
You're just mad she's not in a showman's with Kenney. Be honest.
Yes, that too. Add it to the list. I might drop it down to 1 if you say it again.
Part of you.
Right. Drop her down one more time for me. Do it. No, I'm joking. She's
I will never forget again like I did. I love you.
Again, what are we doing here? I think I want her to embrace either being a villain. When Lisa was in the house, we saw the best Angela we've had so far. She had an adversary that she could go head to head with. When Matt was in the house, she did it. Now she's all neutered and just kind of like, no one's paying any attention to her. I need her to grasp power again so I can give her some type of credit. But right now, she's just lucky they ain't talking about her. And that's all there is to it.
All right. Well, the audience is more with me. They gave her a 3.
Boo, audience.
All right. Pooya, how do you feel about Brooklyn?
Like I said, and I didn't want to spoil it, I feel very good about Brooklyn. I think that Brooklyn is playing a very level-headed game. I like the way she's socializing and kind of finding her footing in this game, talking to people, making those connections. I think one of the strongest parts of Brooklyn's game is that she is part of the Pentagon, which as of right now, the members still very much seem to be invested in and trying to keep it afloat. Joseph not loving that she's part of the collective was hilarious this week, so I like that. But I like what she's doing. I feel like she's picked up little pieces here and there. I feel like she's progressed her game. Obviously, one of the big anti-Brooklyn people has been Kenney, who has basically put her as the figurehead for a women's alliance. And I love how she confronted him yesterday. I thought that was very nicely done. It wasn't over the top. It wasn't a full-blown fight. It just kind of was like, you know what, Kenney, you're not going to just get away with doing this. And what happened next? What's Kenney doing now? Send me home. Like, get rid of me. So I love all that. I see that y'all gave her a 6 last week. I think based on everything that happened this week, I would like to give her a 7. I still think there might be a couple of people looking at her moving forward, but I do like her longevity for this game. And I guess I didn't say what my rubric was for this. We are in week 3. I'm looking a lot at longevity for making it to the jury, and win equity kind of goes into that as well. But if you're set up for the next couple of weeks, that's a thumbs up from me. I like that.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm torn between I want to give her the benefit of the doubt. You know, I think a lot of the chaos in this house, like I was saying against about Angela, is that it's happening, and just being not in a part of it is making you look better as a player. But also, I think the other players are going to perceive that too. You know, they're going to also see that, like, hey, yeah, Brooklyn is somebody I can probably work with because she's not a crazy person like everybody else. And so that's why I'm really concerned about, you know, maybe giving her really high marks, because I'm like, what if it's just not her turn yet? You know, like, what if they're gonna look at her and say, all right, we can get Brooklyn. She is the head of this pseudo women's alliance. She is in the Pentagon, but it's a very fragile alliance right now. I mean, two of the girlies are fighting, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough. And so I really don't know. I think I was leaning toward 6. But I think Pooya makes a good point. In my mind, Kenney's going home, and that's really good for her. So I'll probably go with Pooya on this one and give her a 7. But it was really close to being a 6.
All right. Well, the audience agrees with both of you. The audience also gave Brooklyn a 7. And I'm inclined to agree. I feel like the season so far has been like, who is currently in the best position, even though they didn't really put themselves there. And that person has been receiving 7s. And right this week, that one of those people is Brooklyn. And so I'm going to agree and give Brooklyn the 7. But I also do agree with you, Chappell. I'm still not sold that she knows how to solidify this and lock this position in. I think that she has benefited from external forces, and if those forces continue to work, that could slip away at some point because she's not active enough at like locking the stuff that she needs to lock in. However, as the game progresses, things start to get more and more solid, even if people aren't solidifying them themselves. So it could also be a game of musical chairs to just be like, who is in the best position when the game gets solid enough that it's hard to move them out of that position. And that could be this week, though it does still feel like things are pretty hectic. But she is currently in the spot to move into the place that she needs to be as things continue to shift. So primarily, I'm concerned about the fact that if Kenney stays, there's obviously some issue there. However, despite that, she basically has the option of any group she wants, depending on which group moves into power next week. So it's a pretty good spot. We'll just have to see where she moves from here. Chappell, how do you feel about Cam?
You know, with Cam, he, I feel like Cam strikes me as one of those like the classic big brother trope of, if you just come in, you don't make too many waves, you lay under the radar, you don't win too many, you win a competition here or there just to show that you can, but also you just gotta chill until about jury, and then you wake up and start doing stuff. Cam is in a great spot to do something like that. No one really wants Cam out. He's in a good alliance, but he's not doing anything. And actively, I think he's making things work for himself. This beef with Leah is just annoying to watch on the feeds, but I have to imagine it's probably annoying to watch in real time, because it's like, hey, get your head in the game, you know? So for me, he's not actively putting himself in an awful spot. I don't think I would like, be like concerned about him going next week. But at the same time, I also can't see him doing anything to win the game. If he was a competition threat, or he had one of these powers, then I'd say, all right, cool. Yeah, I can see him taking this and running with it. I just don't see where he has anywhere to go. And so I saw that y'all gave him 4s and 5s. Next week, I'm probably inclined to give him like a 5 as well. You know, I don't see anything negative to where I'm like, all right, you're in danger, bro. But I'm also kind of like, he's fine. I don't have any real issue with Cam.
Well, the audience has a bit more of an issue with Cam than you do, because they gave him a 4 this week. I gave Cam a 4 last week, and honestly, I'm tempted to drop it even lower.
Ooh.
I won't because there's there's way more fish to fry in this house than Cam right now, but I do not think he's helping himself. So I'm going to give him the 4. I just feel like it was wild to me after watching the events of yesterday play out that at the end of the day, Chelsie and Brooklyn and a few other people were still mostly talking about how Cam is the biggest liability in the house. Even Cedric was talking about how Cam was a liability. And I was like, Quinn is right there. He just had the entire house blow up because of him. And Cam is still the biggest problem in the Pentagon. Like, this is an issue for him. And he's doing it to himself, spending all day talking with Leah. Leah's doing nothing for his game right now. It's like the thing is, you either have to go for it or leave it on the table, because this in-between thing where they're not actually in a showmance, but everyone perceives them to be in a showmance, but they're not actually sharing information properly, and they're spending a ton of time together, but not in a productive way. It's just a really bad look, and it's really bad play. And if he wasn't in such a, if he wasn't surrounded by so many structures, I'd say he was in deep trouble. But he is, so it's just the 4.
Yeah, it's the showmance without benefits. And I don't mean intimate benefits. I mean the game benefits. Like, there's no game benefits that come from everyone's perception of them. So I 100% agree with you there, Taran. Here's my issue with Cam. And I think, I won't tell you what number yet. My issue with Cam is that Cam comes into the house, super charismatic guy, has the magnetic smile, has the athletic build, is legitimately someone that you look at and it screams winning contender, because he's got all the makeup of someone that's going to be a good player, and the charisma gets him in all the alliances, which we have seen, and it served him well the first couple of weeks. But, and to your point, Chappell, he is, and we talked about this, he is in the Pentagon. He is in the collective. He is in the 3 Cs. He's someone that other people from outside of that alliance want to work with. Should be in a better spot. But despite all of that, he's shooting himself in the foot by being seen as a liability in the 3 Cs, by being seen as a liability in the Pentagon, by being seen as a liability in the collective. And now with the blow up yesterday, being seen as potentially being in a rough patch with the little makeshift, what were they called? Were they the ball players? Was it the
ball players?
The Ship'ems? I don't know.
The ball boys.
Okay, I like ball boys. We'll go with that.
I just feel like, don't name your alliance ball anything. Ball smashers, that was the last one. Everybody else, ball anything, let it go.
We had one good one. That, and
the
don't put
handlers,
a number in the name.
I don't need that. Yeah, those are 2 rules. 2 rules here in the book, the RHAP Big Brother book.
And he made such a quintessential mistake in my eyes when, and you know, you see this in the outside world too, when you are in a relationship and you talk smack about your partner, you're like, you know what, they're not for me, forget them, it's over. And your friends are like, yeah, forget them, you're right, live your life, find your, you know, get into your new stage of your life. And then you go back to them and your friends are like, well, we just spent like 2 days talking smack with you, that is a problem. He did all that, and now he's googly eyesing again with Leah, who wants nothing to do with him in that sense. So I think he's someone who should be just by default riding the wave of a 6 rating, and he's only shooting himself in the foot. I'm giving him the 3 that Taran was hesitant. We'll give him the 3.
All right, there you go. Okay, let's then move on to Cedric. Cedric last week got a 6 from the audience. But this week, matching the rating they gave to his HOH, they gave him a 5. And, you know, I was actually kind of torn on Cedric because in many ways I was impressed by him this week. I thought that the decision he made with Quinn was the very mature strategic decision to not get swept up in Tucker's plan that I thought was way too risky for him. It still did put him in a rough spot, though. And because he didn't properly sit Tucker down, which I think might have helped, and maybe it wouldn't have, because we know Tucker loves a grudge. He ends up getting a lot of heat for this, but then he gets heat in a way where it's really only from Tucker. And he gets a lot of sympathy, and he does get a lot of, I think, gratitude. And so I don't think he's in a terrible spot. But then I do have to consider the distinct possibility that like there is a nightmare scenario that's fairly realistic for Cedric this week. And that nightmare scenario is Quinn gets nominated by America and T-Core and Kimo flip. And then all of a sudden, the house is some weird amount of T-Core, Kimo, Rubina, Tucker, Kenney, Angela, MJ, Leah, all against him with like Brooklyn and Chelsie being like, yeah, rah, rah.
We love the girls.
That would be such a nightmare for Cedric. He needs the Quinn power next week to recover from this. He needs Tucker gone. And then he's back to smooth sailing. But until that happens, there is a lot of danger happening here. Even if like Quinn stays and then Tucker manages to win a competition next week and sticks around, that's still rough for him. He needs to get over this Tucker bump. And that's going to be tough to do. So I do have to agree with the audience ultimately that it balances out to a round of 5, even though I really do like a lot of the things that he did this week. He was not perfect by any means. I think he had a rough early HOH reign. I think that he made some mistakes with how he handled the Tucker situation. But overall, I saw a lot more from him this week that gives me promise for future potential. Pooya, what do you think?
I'm torn with Cedric because on one hand, I think he was gifted what should have been the easiest HOH week of the season so far, with 2 volunteers and ultimately 3 volunteers. The issue is that he so badly did not want to make the executive decision on the 3rd nominee that he goes with this offer from Tucker, which is kind of like doing a deal with the devil, because we've seen how vocal Tucker is and how controlling he can be despite having none of the power and all of the mouth. And
yeah, I just want to interject briefly to say, I think that if he had been more decisive in the first part of the week, I don't know that Tucker gets this angry. And I don't know that he feels like he can hit that hard, because Cedric had a plan and he could have been like, Tucker, I get what you're saying, but I have an idea of what I want. Because he was so wishy-washy, Tucker felt like he could walk all over him, and that put him in the spot he's in.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that, because he essentially left there an opening for Tucker to try and fill the void in for him. And then he backed it, you know, as much as he didn't do it, as much as he maybe realizes he's the writing on the wall that, yeah, no, this shouldn't happen for me. It doesn't benefit me. He gave them the confidence that it was happening all the way until it wasn't. And that's caused him to be in a worse spot than I think where he was last week. And I think this, you know, the reality is I think Quinn could go up on the block and Quinn could go home, and then a Tucker staying there and Kenney staying there, that could be bad for him. I think Tucker is someone who, you know, very fascinating. I cannot wait to talk about him later, but he's someone who, despite everything that he's been involved with yesterday, still has a lot of people that like him and are like, yeah, we should get him out, but maybe not this week if we can help ourselves, kind of. So I think that for Cedric, you know, I think a 5 is fair. And I think maybe people around him doing worse kind of keeps him in the same spot, if that makes sense. So maybe I kind of want to go 4 though, but you know what? I saw Melissa in the chat. I'm gonna pull a Melissa classic. Chappell, you go first. I'm gonna think about my pick some more.
Okay. Well, from my point of view, I think Cedric, like you said, he had this, he fumbled it. But my biggest issue with Cedric is that he doesn't know what he's doing in the game. And I think that when you have forces like Tucker, who are so just pushy about what they want, who are so aggressive about getting their point across when it comes to what they want in the game, he folds. You know, he really shouldn't have entertained the Tucker conversation. Let me go up on the block and then I'm going to do this. And then we're going to backdoor. Like, that was wild. And then afterwards he talks to other people and they're like, you want to do that? This is the plan that you want to do. And then he realizes, you know what, you're right. You know, let me go ahead and let me clean this up. And so I think he's easily swayed. And I think that for me, if I'm expecting him to win the game, he's going to have to take some hard stances moving forward. And he's going to have to really put his foot down and say, this is what I want. This is what's best for my game. And I know that it's best for my game, despite not having the knowledge of all the past seasons of Big Brother. Like, because if you let somebody like like Quinn or like Joseph even get in Cedric's ear, which Joseph has not been able to do that effectively yet. But if you let that happen, we see Tucker pretty much just hijack this week from him. And Quinn, like you said, Taran going home is a disaster for Cedric. It puts him in a really bad spot, whereas this could have been avoided. And so I like that at the beginning of the week, like he had me in the first half. I'm not gonna lie to you. We got people volunteering basically to go home. That's perfect. Get rid of them. But now you've drawn a hard line in the sand against you and Tucker. Is, in my opinion, the moment you betray Tucker by going back and telling everybody about what he said about trying to backdoor Quinn, you have to get him out, or this is a failure of an HOH. Because with Quinn leaving, if Quinn leaves, then now you don't even get that added buffer of Quinn can just take the power and save you next week. So it's really hard for me to reward him with a 6. But also, he ain't going home. It wasn't like he is definitely going home next week. So I can't give him the 4. I have to do the fence again. It's 5.
And I'll give him the 4. Because my points don't matter.
All right, then.
Wow, a 5.
It's a 5 for Cedric. Let's talk about Chelsie. And I'll be honest, I really wanted to talk about Chelsie when I was talking about Brooklyn because I feel pretty similarly about them for different reasons, but they're in very similar positions. Chelsie, like Brooklyn, is in a position where no matter what happens, she has outs. She has this thing with MJ and Leah. She has obviously the Pentagon, the 3 C's. She's got the collective. She's got no heat on her right now. I do think that last week was a missed opportunity for her, but this week has presented her with more opportunity that she could theoretically use again moving forward. But similar to Brooklyn, I feel like because I know that she didn't capitalize on opportunity last time, I'm concerned that she won't this time either, and that her current position is also reliant on the current circumstances, and that if those circumstances change, that might mean she slips out of this position again. So for now, like Brooklyn, I'm going to give Chelsie a 7. I do think that Chelsie and Brooklyn are the 2 players to watch this week, and the most likely to land in a good spot next week. But we will have to wait and see. Pooya, what do you think?
I think a 7 is a very good number here because, for a lot of the points that we gave Brooklyn, Chelsie is in a very similar spot where she has all of the same alliances that we've highlighted, right? The Pentagon, the collective. She's also part of the 3 C's, but also I feel like she made, I know that her HOH last week kind of was like, they didn't lock anything down, but I think she's done a very good job with Makensy. From that last week. I think that was a really good shout for her. I feel like she is someone who no one leaves the combo feeling iffy about her, which I love. I also personally, she has the best cam talks of the house for me. I enjoy her cam talks the most, which y'all know me. I do love when they talk to us on the feed, so I like that. But I can't give her higher than a 7. I think 7 is the ceiling for me this week. So 7 is where I'll also land.
Yeah, and I mean that's fair. The gameplay has been so wild over these last few weeks. We haven't really seen a lot of just like, oh, this is stellar Big Brother play from any one person. So 7 is probably as high as I'm going to go for anybody in the house. And Chelsea's in a great position. I can't put her any lower than Brooklyn. So yeah, I'm going with 7 as well. Because she put herself in this position, but again, the house got wild and she was able to stay out of it, and I have to give her credit for that. So she's much higher than some of the other people we've talked about for sure.
All right. Well, the audience agrees as well. They also gave Chelsie a 7, so it's going to be
Same
straight
page.
7s once again. Pooya, tell me about Joseph.
Oh, okay. Hello, Joseph, and I'm talking to you directly because I know you're going to watch this. I know you're watching this whenever your season is over. So Joseph is a fascinating person to me because in a weird way, because initially he seemed very much like he had his hand in the cookie jar, right? He had some control. He was kind of pulling a Tucker in a way. He kind of did this week with the collective meeting where he kind of just runs it. He's very vocal in what he wants to do. He has objectives that he wants to see play out. But I think Joseph shot himself in the foot in the in-between week where he kind of has come off looking weak and frail and kind of doesn't have anything that anyone's going to put a lot of weight on. But also Joseph currently has the best, and I mean the best, information on where a lot of the house lies, because and correct me if I'm wrong, Taran, to this point, the only person that knows the Pentagon exists outside of the Pentagon, thanks to one Quinn.
Well, technically, Tikor and Kimo know about it.
That's true.
But I don't know if they remember because
bless them, a lot has happened.
they never talk about it. And they talked about creating a new alliance this week that included members of the Pentagon, and they didn't discuss the folly in that. So, like, I'm so lost on where their heads are at game-wise, but, like, I genuinely think they might not remember.
That's entirely possible. I think Joseph is another person that kind of benefited from the events of this week. I think a restructuring could allow him to maybe find himself in a better spot. Or even if there's quote unquote sides, I just don't see Joseph being the main target for anybody. He could certainly be a casualty of war. In like, oh, he was like the backup, and that's the one person left, so he could go. So I don't hate his longevity at the moment. I think he could both. He's literally for me like a easy 5 because he could both improve from here on out or further hurt his game and revert back to week 2 from here on out. So I could see it going either way. I'll give him 5. I could have gone 4 to be honest, but 5 I think is the fair number here.
You don't have to give him a 4 because I got it. Listen, I think I see. I said this earlier. I see so much potential in Joseph. I know he knows what he needs to be doing. He's just ineffective, and I think that if you let him get far enough in the game, yeah, he's going to take it and he's going to run with it, and that'd be a massive mistake. But I also think that if I'm somebody who maybe I don't want to get blood on my hands, why not put up Joseph? Who's going to be mad? Who's really going to fight you about saving Joseph in the house? I don't think he's done enough to where people feel like they got to stick their neck out on the line for him. I think his allies have better allies. I think he's the one who is hoping that people will just save him. And I don't like that. I want him to have a little bit more agency to where he's making decisions. I want him to win an HOH and do something with it and try to solidify something to where you feel like, okay, I got they back and they got my back. So yeah, he's the one who's giving me the 4 vibes this week. I want better for him. I'm really rooting for Joseph. I need to see some action and I need to see it stick. I don't want people to think, like you said, he's the backup target or the backup to the backup. But I don't think at any point is anybody going to be saying, no, it can't be Joseph. And so for me, that's where I have to draw the line at the 4.
Okay, well, the audience did give Joseph a 5.
Okay, respectable.
And I'm honestly kind of torn. I'm torn between 2 numbers. And that's because for as delusional as Joseph can be, he started this week with as the person who maybe knew the least about the house dynamics. I think he leaves this week perhaps knowing the most about the house dynamics. Or at least close to the most about the house dynamics. More so than even players like Brooklyn and Chelsie right now. The issue is he doesn't have the positioning of Brooklyn and Chelsie. He doesn't have the relationships of Brooklyn and Chelsie. And his ship is very much tied to Quinn and Cedric at the moment. Now, he could theoretically jump back over to Tucker if for some reason Quinn went home this week. But the problem is that, like, if he votes to keep Quinn, that's going to be hard. He probably would if he thinks those are where the numbers are. And so his spot is kind of tenuous, but he's not a threat to anyone right now. He's not a target for anyone right now. And he's gathered a lot of information. And I think, honestly, most importantly, he's one of the few players that's willing to just be active and make any kind of moves. And if I had rated him earlier in the week, I probably would have given him a 6 for that reason. I was feeling, while, it was fun dogging on him, but like, I was actually feeling like Joseph is the one who's actually making some waves here. The problem is Tucker. The problem is that Tucker, who was one of his plans and one of his pieces on the board, just went completely wild, blew up that option for him, left him with much fewer options, and forced more of the house to be more active, which meant that he didn't have the advantage that he did before. So I do have to drop back down to a 5, but I was very close to giving Joseph a 6 this week.
Yeah, It is very ironic and funny to think of, though. Every time he's gotten into a duo with somebody, that person has blown his game has suffered as a result. We had Matt, Angela, Tucker, Quinn to a degree. Like, the man can't pick a duo to ride with to save his life. It's been kind of tough. But I think that having all this information is good. Information, after all, is currency. And as long as he doesn't use it now and figures out how to use it, I think it can yield some good results for him down the line here.
I would say similar to Cedric this week, I saw things in Joseph that make me feel like, okay, week 1 Joseph that we were kind of high on isn't gone completely. There's still promise here. He just has some work to do to get back into a place where he can actually do things with that promise. So
also, is he not the only person that's been doing his own mental Stockwatch in the house? And that we found out this week.
Where does he have himself ranked on his
I don't
Stockwatch?
know.
We only heard what he gave Quinn. We did not hear what he gave himself.
Yeah,
Quinn, missed opportunity. Yeah, you got to find out. Yeah, we need to know.
I mean, listen, maybe we'll hear him say it because this week.
Wow, another 5.
Another 5. All right. Chappell, talk to me about Cedric. Or sorry, talk to me about Kenney, I should say.
That's it. It's a 1. It's a 1, man. It's a 1. I don't know what to tell you. It's a 1. It's a 1. It's a 1. Sir, go. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. It's okay. Because even if with minimal effort, he could have gotten into the spot that he's in. Sometimes he tries. Sometimes he tries. He doesn't try. Sometimes he tells us he's trying in the diary rooms on the television show. We get that he's Boston strong and he's doing all this stuff for his family, but then we see him not trying. We see him talking about quitting. We see him volunteering to go up. We see him doing a lot of weird stuff in the house, and I can't reward that. The boys get, yeah. Sir, thank you for your service. Your time is up. It is a win.
I can tell you that the audience gave Kenney a 2 last week, and this week they did in fact drop down to the very rare audience
We did it.
1.
We did it, Joe.
And honestly, it would feel extremely wrong of me to disrespect the audience by negating their 1. So I will follow suit. Pooya?
Well, let me stop you right there. Taran, have you considered that maybe Kenney is doing all this as strategy?
Okay, that's interesting thought from. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. He dropped from the call. That
Amon has
weird.
been kicked from the call. He's back.
I'm back, y'all. It's me, Amon. My bad.
Taran,
Chappell had to go.
you know, we get to come on as panelists for the roundtable every season. It's a delight. I would like to request a perk as a panelist. I know on the form, the form has its, it's been the same. You vote from 1 to a 10. That's the rating. Can we use 0? I would like for you to reconsider. Can we just give him a 0?
There are plenty of people
Jack
we should have
didn't
given
get his
0.
zero, I don't think anyone
exactly. That's what they had. No, listen, because then we got to go back and change some things. Because I got a list of zeros I've been dying to give out for years. Sorry, you get this 1. He got a whole.
Fine, he gets a 1 then.
Yeah.
There it is. Kenney gets the 1 sweep.
Make some noise!
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that is more the appropriate.
Yes.
All right,
Beat
let's
it.
move on to Kimo. Kimo, one of our 7s from last week, had a pretty rough week this time around. The audience who gave him a 7 last week dropped him down to a 5 this week. And man, I gotta say, big Kimo fan right here. I'm really disappointed with Kimo's gameplay.
When I saw 5, I was like, "Dang, y'all polite."
I'm so upset because I feel like there's so much promise in Kimo, and I feel like his head is just not in the game. And I'm not even just talking about the crush on Tucker. I think in general his head is just not in the game. I think his heart is not in the game right now. And that bums me out. He was my #1 draft pick. I bought him in the Stockwatch the previous week. I had a lot of faith in him. But this week has kind of told me that I don't know if he's really in it. right now. And maybe he gets in it at some point, but he's really just not in it right now. And I just have no faith in his strategic ability at the moment. He has done basically zero damage control from the blow up that he caused by telling Tucker about this power. And he's had very few conversations strategically to get him in any kind of position. We talked about this last week that he was in a good spot, but that T-Core was doing most of the talking. And that was probably fine because at the time it just felt like, oh, well, he's got his own things going on. He's close to the people in the alliance while T-Core is working on the people out of the alliance. But the reality is he's not really working on anyone except for maybe T-Core. And she's kind of like, well, dude, you didn't even tell me about this power. And so I'm pretty down on Kimo right now, and I got to give him a 4. Pooya, what do you think?
Whew, it's tough because I also feel similarly. I feel like in week 1, we kind of saw a very dejected Kimo, kind of defeated. Then he wins the AI comp. And it's a new Kimo. Like that confidence that he was riding really put him in a good spot last week. He's out here making connections. He's having a good time. He's living his best life. People love him. It's a good time. Love that from Kimo. Then this week, in the first couple of days of the week, before the whole Sunday and Monday stuff, I felt decent about where Kimo was because I felt like there was a lot of talk about maybe Rubina goes up, but they didn't want to put Rubina up because T-Core was so adamant on it. And T-Core and Kimo obviously are linked, but Kimo's name isn't coming up as the person to blame for maybe Rubina not going up or that they can put up. And I thought that was intriguing because I was like, well, that's kind of perfect because even in the duo, he's not seen as the main, so he won't be the target. That's good for him. So I was like, that's a good spot to be in. It is wild that all of the drama we've gotten goes back to Kimo. And goes back to this crush that causes him to overshare with Tucker at a very bad time. Now, what I will say is, I still have hope for Kimo. I think if you're talking about him playing a cutthroat game or like a very good game, I don't know. I think that's very much up in the air, Taran.
Weirdly, I think he is very capable of being cutthroat.
Well, cutthroat, but here's the thing. So he is definitely riding a bit of sadness, a negative energy, a bit of guilt. But he's also getting all the sympathy today. I feel like that's not a bad spot to be in. Who's looking at Kimo? Who's coming after Kimo right now? That's the question I would have out there. So I think in that regard, he's fine. I think there's definitely a bit of dip here because I think he kind of muddied the waters for himself, and this is the big issue with them not having locked up a proper thing, because all of this has caused some distrust with people with Quinn and other people. So getting everyone back together could be tough. Getting the band together could be tough, but I could still see him pivoting from here. I think I'm gonna give him a 5 because I could, like, similar to Joseph in a weird way, I could see it going lower from here or higher from here. And I don't feel any type of way to let you know I got back in the Stockwatch game by putting all my money on Kimo. So we're going down today. It's not looking good.
Let me tell you another thing about Kimo, because I think I talked a lot about Kimo individually, and so I'm realizing that it might slip me if I don't bring it up here. But like collectively, Kimo, T-Core, Rubina, even like, they share an immense amount of responsibility for not taking control of the game in the spot that they were in. And Quinn is guilty of this as well. Like this time last week, we were talking about the Visionaries and how they were just basically one step away from crossing the finish line and taking control of the entire game. And they were like, well, let's wait though. And then they waited and they waited and they waited, and then they got outed. They got exposed. They got targeted because they started leaking information. They lost Tucker, and it's just a complete mess now. And it's such a fumble. It's the biggest fumble of the entire game, as far as I'm concerned, given how close they were to really just taking a stranglehold on this thing, and then just completely letting it go. And now they are all on the bottom again. And it's wild to me that that happened in a week's time. And it's entirely, I think, all of their fault for not just locking something in and just doing it. And so Kimo also, with my rating, is sharing some of the responsibility for that.
Taran, who would you say Kimo's number one allies in this game? Like the top 3 allies that he has?
I mean, T-Core.
Mm.
It was Quinn. I'm not sure right now. Rubina. But even then, like his relationship with Rubina is mostly through T-Core at this point. Like I don't even know how tight they are specifically.
Right. And that's what's bringing me to my rating here. I'm giving him a 4. I think that he was fine. I think that he fumbled this on his own. This was a mistake on it, and I lay it right at his feet. Because why did you run your mouth? And then he got outed, and then it shows that he betrayed a lot of the people that he had his back. Quinn is now betrayed. T-Core is betrayed. He's like, why are you just pissed off your top allies for what? To what gain? You know what I'm saying? Like, so it wasn't even worth the risk. So that's why I have to give him a 4 here. There's no point in saying, oh, it's middle of the road, because he's actively playing himself back into his shell. We liked when he came out of his shell, when he was confident, after he won that competition, when he starts to be a little bit of a mover and a shaker. But now, he's back in. He's turtling again, because there's a lot of drama on him. And yes, he's getting some sympathy, but if people start to really look at him and be like, hey, Kimo is not somebody who you can trust. Kimo is not reliable. Kimo betrayed me. Kimo didn't tell me about the power. Kimo is doing a lot of damage to his own game in a way that a lot of these people are getting, their games are getting blown up by other people. Kimo did this to himself. And so I have to give him a 4.
Yeah, can we also talk about how there have been 2 collective meetings and he hasn't been to either one?
Nope. Slept right through them. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Why? What are you doing?
Nobody hopes that Kimo turns this around more than me. He is on my draft team. I do really like him as a person. But man, yeah, rough week for Kimo. All right, let's then talk about Leah. And I will kick off here with Leah. It's rough. It's rough.
Hey, you want to talk about draft teams, Taran? You want to talk about draft? I popped off that Amon picked Cedric and I could have Leah. You know how stupid I look? You know how dumb I look right now? Woof.
It's not great.
Nope.
Not great.
and Chappell, you and I were both very much high on Leah coming into the season as well.
Yeah. Oh no. I saw the potential. And then she just started making mistakes. Voting to keep Matt. What was that? What was that about? Why would you do that? You knew he was going. She had to have known he was going. I mean, let's be very clear. If you don't know he's going, you're not paying attention. And so, like, from there, I think she just hasn't been able to recover all of these like little love things that she's doing, flirting with Tucker, and he's not interested. Flirting with Cam, and he is interested, but she's not interested. And these lovers' quarrels she's getting into, like, she's not doing anything to make her game any better. So I'm not shocked that you were over there feeling it with your draft pick.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to work with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like even MJ doesn't really want to work with. She's just kind of stuck with her. Like nobody except for Cam. And even Cam is like, I don't want to work with her.
Yeah. I would say work with her.
It's a problem. Yeah. It's a problem. And again, like this thing with Tucker should have been a massive opportunity for a player like Leah, and she just hasn't taken it. So
someone brought up
for sure.
Someone brought up in the chat, Leah said boo tomato is her thing and gets upset when people use it in the house. Chappell, how do you feel about that?
Wow. Yeah. Listen, I hope you didn't buy Leah stocks this time, because I'm about to send you straight to hell. People gonna be jumping off of buildings by the time I get done rating this woman. I'm joking. No, I really think that she had some opportunities. Cam is in a tight alliance. You should be Cam's +1, because we know he's going out of his way to include you in conversations that you ain't got no business being in. You also had Quinn fawning over you, and you just kind of disregarded Quinn and left him out into where he felt like, okay, even if this isn't a showman's, it don't even feel like we have a really good one-on-one relationship together. She's just throwing a lot of these people who did want to work with her to the side. And yeah, Taran, now they don't want to work with her, but she had opportunities and she's fumbling each of them.
Yeah. I gave her a 3.
Yeah. I feel like I would have been so here to champion Leah had she just absorbed all the information from Quinn, kept that relationship going, kept like, oh, harmless flirt, whatever. She already established we're just friends. Kind of doing a similar thing with with Cam, but with Cam, maybe the door's a little bit open. The minute she said, I'm not really feeling Cam, it's all about Tucker for me, and started telling people, it was at that point that I knew this ain't going nowhere. It was looking like a very promising game move for me. I was really loving that. But even Quinn Quinn, you bat an eyelid at this boy, and he gives you information for the free.
They were telling her earlier today, they were like, yeah, I think Tucker said this, like, yeah, Quinn said he'd throw away his game for you. And she was like, ew, gross.
Girl,
that's an ick.
You know what my ick is? That somebody saying, I'm willing to hand you a bunch of money. You'd be like, ew, no, what money? I don't want that. Ew, gross. Get away from me, Quinn. I want to chase around Tucker. Like, do you understand? Do you see how she's sitting there with a clown makeup on, a clown nose, and a clown afro, and a big old clown shoes, talking about ill. Bam, this is a game. Get your head in the game.
It's unfortunate because I definitely think that a Leah who understands the game and is willing to play this flirtatious game can do damage in this game, and it would be entertaining to watch. The issue is she doesn't have that information. I also think for me, this should remind people moving forward, even if you find out that someone is very good friends or family with super fans who have said you are the chosen one, go on the show, don't trust that. Because if someone's a big fan of the show and knows all the ins and outs, doesn't mean the person that's going to play, who's their friend, knows or understands the game themselves. Keep that in mind.
I'll go as far as to say a person whose friends and family describes as you would be good on Big Brother will probably not be good at Big Brother.
Yes. Do you know how many people tweet me like, Chappell, we got to get you on Big Brother? I said, because y'all know I'm a clown. Y'all know I'd be sitting there with my clown nose on and my clown shoes and my clown makeup on. See, that's what I'm saying. We want good TV. If somebody tells you that, they know you're going to go act a fool. And we're going to see, and we're going to drag you, and people going to rally behind hating you. Because Leah, if Leah was outside the house tweeting, she would be tweeting negative things about Leah inside the house. She wouldn't even be rooting for this character.
Nothing in your personal life should be indicative of you being good at Big Brother. Is kind of what I'm saying. Like,
people should not be like, you're conniving and backstabbing, and you lie good. You should go play that. What does that say about you as a human?
Exactly. Like, I if people are like, I listen to Chappell on the podcast, I think he'd be good on the show. I think that tracks. But if people in your real life, Chappell, were like, oh, Chappell, you're so manipulative and you're so good at like doing like that's a bad sign.
Like, bro, I just finished serving meals at the soup kitchen. Don't ever call me manipulative. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, but even then, they're telling me I'd be good on the show. Not that you would be actively good at the game. You would be good to watch. We love to watch people like Tucker. We love to watch people like Angela. You know, those people are not necessarily good at the game, but they are good TV. Leah, I'd argue that you're not doing either of those things right now. She's not good TV right now, and she's not really good at the game.
Yeah.
I'm going to also give her a 3.
All right.
And I'm giving her a 2.
Oh, boy. Well, the audience did go with the 3. So there we go.
She gets a 2 for me because at least somebody want to work with Angela.
All right, Pooya, kick us off with Makensy.
Okay, so big ticket items for Makensy this week. I really loved the weaponizing of her power to stay off the block, and she nearly gets there. Ultimately, because of and funnily enough, I truly believe the house. If Makensy did not use it, I don't think she was going anywhere come Thursday. I really don't. I mean, unless Kenney wins the AI arena, then maybe they're like, you know what? Goodbye. You should have used it. But I feel like the power getting flushed now. She doesn't have any of that heat on her anymore. Quinn has basically absorbed all the power heat. I think she benefited from the fact that Quinn kept it a secret and she was more vocal about having it. So that's good for her. I just don't know where Makensy goes from here, you know. I really don't. And that's not a bad thing. That just means to me on the board, if I was doing predictions for everybody, Makensy's the biggest question mark because I have no idea. I think that obviously she has been seen as a duo with Leah, but I feel like even that has becoming a little bit more severed. But I don't know where she goes. She doesn't have the power anymore. Could she be an asset? Does someone get Leah out to pick up Makensy? I could see that happening. It's a question mark, man. And, you know, I see that she got a 5 last week. I'm almost in a position where I would give her the 5 this week as well. That being said, maybe I give her a 4 because I feel like the most likely HOH next week, barring a AI arena loss and an eviction, is Quinn. And Quinn, I think, would be one of the people that's definitely putting her up on that block. So let me see. Who did I give a 4? I gave Cedric a 4. I don't even think. I'm not giving her a 3. She's doing better than Leah. But at 4? 4? 5? 4? Bro, maybe. Am I going lower? How low can you go? 4?
Hard on Cedric. I don't know.
That's God.
You transform from
Oh, you know what? I
Melissa
gave him a
Deni.
4 because the math was like whatever. Okay, we'll give her a 4. Let's give her a 4.
Well, I'm a match that energy because Makensy, the reason you're on the block is because you told everybody about your power. You told everybody about your power. This is a power for a reason. It should not have landed you on the block. It's the reason why you got put up. This is insane. You were gifted something from Big Brother and you just floundered and did nothing with it and ended up having to use it. You had no clue what was going on. When she ended up on the block, she's like, wait, I guess I got to use this damn power. She was trying to hold on to it. You know, like this is madness. I don't see where she's going in the game. I don't like that you give somebody an advantage in the game and it turns into a detriment for her immediately. She's lost already her number 1 ally in match. I haven't seen her be able to really solidify anything except for maybe like the Girls Alliance. I think might be like her strongest thing that I would say that's probably got her a little covered, but it's not enough. And I think that, like you said, Quinn most likely to come back. And he's going to take over that next HOH. It'll be wild for him not to. And so if he does, then yeah, Makensy, you're probably going up on the block, and it'd be a good chance that you might go home too. And I think that you did nothing to make yourself to not put yourself in this position. People have been questioning who had all these powers all the time, but Makensy has been very open about having the power. And to what? To what gain? What has that done for you, Makensy? So yeah, she's getting a 4 from me.
Well, the audience agrees, as do I. Having to use her power this week is brutal. She should have had 4 weeks of safety. She now had 3 weeks of safety. And she almost didn't use it. And even though I do agree, Pooya, that she was probably safe, probably is not
safe.
what I would want to be with. When I have a guaranteed safety, no way. There are some outs for her. I don't think she's playing as poorly as Leah, and I think she has more upside than Leah right now. But she is in a pretty rough spot at the moment, and she no longer has that safety, and she very nearly did not use a veto on herself. So it's going to be a 4 from me. Chappell.
Woo! This is tough. This is Quinn. Okay, we're talking about Quinn. Quinn could go home this week. Normally, when somebody
Hi, Quinn. I know you're also watching this. Hello. Hope you're doing well,
If you're watching
man.
this, Quinn, how dare you? How dare you? The way you acting in this house. Really, Quinn? Really? As much as we've been through? Anyway, so Quinn, here's the problem. Normally, at this point in the game, we know who's sitting on the block. And we're like, you got put on the block. You could go home. We got to get you low scores. Quinn is technically not on the block. So it would be wild for me to just be like, well, you're going home. Then again, he probably will be on the block. We don't know, but we're just gauging it. So it could be Quinn. Quinn could be on the block. But then again, he still might not go home at that point. And if he doesn't go home, he's really good socially. The house blew up and people are still welcoming Quinn back. They're like, okay, I think this is fine. You see people like Chelsie, like Brooklyn, who really like, don't care. You know, like this is fine, whatever. That was between Tucker and Quinn. If Quinn gets out Tucker this week, Quinn is in a great position because Tucker is his biggest ops. I just feel like it's really hard to gauge this man because you should not have been in this position in the first place. Why are you like this? You having to use your power, basically being forced in this position, I guess, to where we're like, oh, well, you got to use your power next week or else you could end up on the block, you know? So I'm really like, I'm torn because it could be great for him at the end of this week. It could also be him at home watching this very podcast. And so I cannot give him a positive score. And I really can't give him a neutral score at this point. I can't give him a 5. I can't give him a 5 because he put himself in this position with messy gameplay. Messy gameplay is the reason why you got here. Okay, he's got to match Makensy. It's 4. For me, it's a 4. But I am very disappointed in you. Very disappointed in you, young man.
Bad Quinn.
Learn from this.
The audience also gave Quinn a 4, and I will say I feel very similarly. And I'm really, it's such a difficult rating because he is probably safe, but might not be.
Possibly.
And if he is safe, he has a whole week of HOH next week to recover. But if he's not safe, he's gone.
Maybe.
And then also I have to account for the fact that, like, yes, he escaped this and he's in a mostly fine position. But also, this is like entirely his fault and it was all unforced. So it's like, how do I rectify all of that? How do I like balance all of that in my head? And honestly, I think that what I want to do is say, right now, it's awful. He played terribly. He's gotten 7s and 6s up until this point, and I need something to represent just how poorly he has put himself into this spot. Played to put himself into this spot. And if he comes back next week, he comes back next week, and there'll be a big swing up. But right now, I'm gonna get him down at the dip, and I'm gonna give him a 3.
And you deserve that, Quinn. Honestly, you deserve to get him again. Get him for me. You know.
Yeah, it is very interesting because Quinn has a lot of connections, and that should be celebrated, right? Like, we should be here saying, dude has so many alliances, so many places he can go. If this person wins, he has this relationship, that relationship. If this person explodes, he's got this other person to fall back on. But the issue is, and we talked about how Joseph has a lot of information now that's currency. He can save it, use it later. Quinn gets information and then spends it immediately. I have information. You blinked at me? Dude, in order to pay you back for giving me a compliment, here's the Pentagon. You said good morning to me? T-Core, myself, and Kimo are looking at, we're doing something. Mike, what are you doing? Keep it to yourself. This is my biggest issue with Quinn. If I have one issue, it's this. Quinn likes to talk, but also likes to share, and he likes to do the final 2 share with people. The problem is he does that with too many people. You can do the final 2 share. Hell, if I have a final 2, I still don't give him the full pie. I give him a decent chunk of it, never the whole thing. Keep the whole thing for yourself. And I think that's my biggest issue with Quinn, is that he has a lot of good information. I think he does good with the building of connections. I even would say that despite the blow up and everything, I thought he recovered well with the apology tour he went on yesterday. I still think he has a lot of fostering of those relationships he has to do, which is another thing that I've seen him do incorrectly. Yeah. We talked about the fostering relationships with Leah. He did say Leah's only talking to me at nighttime, not really talking to me at all. You could have also still put in a shift there. With T-Core and Kimo, they've not really talked today. And he's like, oh yeah, I give them my true self. They know the full me. I've apologized, but I haven't really talked to them today. Why? Talk to them. Talk to them. Rebuild the relationships. That is my biggest issue with him. That and this is a PSA to all of you viewers who end up wanting to go on the show. Never take everything we say on the pod as gospel for when you go on the show.
Oh no,
Taran, don't. You are going on a show with a cast of 15 other people that you have not met and don't know. Doesn't mean they're going to be a 1-for-1 for stuff you've learned on this pod. You got to get to know them first and work those players, work the cast that you're in.
Let's be real though.
Quinn's not listening to
what
nothing
has
we saying.
Quinn done that we have? Quinn is very much not in line with what we talk about.
No, this is true.
We're not owning that one.
This is not even you. This is more of an overarching PSA. It's not to do with Quinn specific. It's just happening in the Quinn segment.
Because Brooklyn listens to the podcast and she's fine.
You know what? She's the one that's doing everything we're telling people to do. Let's take that claim
for now.
The other thing,
things that are bad.
Then we don't. Who are you? We've never met.
We don't know
I don't even think she listens. Quite honestly,
definitely don't listen. I don't know. I don't think so.
one other thing I want to say is, and I think this is one of the biggest lessons that Quinn has maybe shared with us. A lot of house guests have. If you think for even a second that you're somebody who you can't help yourself, like if you know something you kind of want to tell somebody, don't want to power in Big Brother. Do not want to power inside that house. If you feel like, oh, it's going to eat me alive to not share that with anybody, then throw the competition. You don't need that power. It's only going to hurt you in some way, shape, or form. And I think right now, Quinn is dealing with that. The added benefit for him, or the silver lining, is that the power is literally HOH. So it's a break glass in case of emergency. Now, I did see that he was talking about wanting to win the HOH outright next week. Sir, you can't play in the HOH following that. What are you doing? Take 2 HOHs to recover. I don't know what you're doing. The more, you know what? I was going to say a 4 when Chappell was talking. The more I'm talking now, I'm aggravated, and I want to give him a 3.
Get him! Get him! Get him for me.
Oh, you know what? It would be a good sign of disrespect to give him a 3 to the same level as Leah right now. So you know what, Quinn? You made your bed. Take the 3.
Get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no world where I should be saying, well, Quinn should be good as long as T-Core and Kimo don't flip on him. Why is that even a thought in my head? Why is that even a possibility on the board? That's absurd. Those are the people he is the closest with, has given the most to, and they conceivably might flip on him. That's atrocious. And there's also no world where I should be saying Leah's a locked vote against him. How is that happening?
How? Yeah. Angela barely like Quinn. Angela, she don't got nowhere else to go, and she's still like, bro, I don't need Quinn. You're like, Quinn, how did you mess this up?
Quinn, here's the problem. Quinn is a love bomber.
Yeah, okay. It's very ghetto.
Quinn is a love bomber. He meets a person. He's whining and dining them. He's their best friend. They feel great around Quinn. Everything is great. And then then he's like, I gotta take a trip somewhere else. And then you never hear from him again. And then he shows up again and he's like, hey, I love you so much. Here's some more information. And then he leaves and he goes meets with other people and you never hear from him again.
Yeah. And you're like, where the hell you been? Whenever he comes back, you're like, where you been? But he sweet talks his way back into everybody's heart. And that's why I had to give him a 4. Because after that big blow up, we should be looking at Quinn like, well, it's a wrap. But he still has allies. In fact, he has the majority of the house in his favor. It's a slim majority, but it is the slim majority. It is a majority. So yeah, he's going to stay a 4 from me.
Yeah, I think the some of the good positive things for him is that there's quite a few people that he's been aligned with. When there were murmurs of maybe he has the power, the sentiment was very much like, you know what? If he has the power, that's good. That means that the people I wasn't working with don't have it, and I'm okay with that. And they understood where he was coming from with not sharing. So there is 2 sides to the house, right? Some people felt betrayed. Some people felt like, I get it, it's fine. That is a testament to how good he could be socially. That is a testament to how good he could be playing this game. I just think he's been making some very bad mistakes that he's potentially going to end up suffering for. And Quinn, let it be known right here, man. Because right now I don't think I'm winning this draft, but if Amon wins this draft, I'm going to blame you somehow. Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. It's your fault. I don't know how we got here, man, but it is what it is.
Clean it up. Quinn, clean this up.
Well, I believe we are then going to start with the audience for Rubina. The audience gave Rubina a 5. And I think I'll agree. I think I'll agree with that, actually. I think that Rubina definitely took a hit this week. I think that there was a world where I give her a 4 because of that. But I do think that with Tucker and Kenney and MJ and Leah, there are still targets in front of her that I think are more, man, I say that, but then it really depends. There's a world where I give her a 4 here, but this is what I'll say about Rubina. I think that outside of her relationship with Tucker, which I think is bad for her game right now, because of Tucker. And I'm not saying she should drop Tucker, for the record. I don't think that she should be like campaigning for him to leave or wanting him to leave. He's great for her game in the sense that he's going to draw attention away, so on and so forth. But he's also very bad for her game in the sense that he's dragging her down. But even before Tucker, there was a massive problem where she got caught trying to make an alliance because she was too slow on solidifying the alliance with. I'm going to give her a 5. I'm going to give her a 5. I think there's a world where she bounces back from this. I have a little more faith in her right now than I do somebody like Kimo, unfortunately, because she's more active and her relationships are a little more solid. However, I think her position right now has significantly fallen from last week, and that's a problem. What do you think, Pooya?
There is a world that I would have rated her lower than this if the house was soured on Tucker like completely, which they have not, because for a lot of the aftermath, it was Rubina defending Tucker and then trying to make sure Tucker is okay. And if the house was angry with him, because we've seen in seasons where someone calls a house meeting or blows up the house and then everyone's like mad at them. Tucker is not suffering from that, so it hasn't really, caused any problems for Rubina. I think Rubina's in a very decent spot as someone who she's definitely good socially with quite a few people. Obviously, one of the biggest issues in her game had been the lack of game talk with some people, which we saw Cedric consider putting her up for that fact and that fact alone. But she still has people that are willing to go to bat for her. I think she's someone who this week moves on. I think she can be forgotten, go back into the background a little bit, which is not a bad spot to be in. Almost being a free agent at this stage in the game is kind of low-key nice because the game is almost restarting in a weird way. So not having any prior locked-in things means you have less of a messy background to come in. So that's good in a way. I think a 5 is appropriate. I really do. Because, again, we talked about with Kimo, we talked about with Joseph. The 5s for me have been, I could see her game going up from here or sinking potentially a little bit from here. But you have potential on both sides relatively well. And it's not like you had done a lot of good things for me to dock you a lot of points, or you did a lot of bad things for me to rise you up a lot. It's kind of like just bang average.
Yeah, but I want to go on record that this is a 4.9 for me. Okay, so it's still a 5,
Okay,
right?
little
It's still a
decimal.
5. You're gonna round it up, but at the same time, it's like the whole Tucker situation. It's in one way Tucker's dragging her down, but also she could be losing her tightest ally in Tucker, and that relationship is weird to me anyway. He could be going home this week, and I don't even know if that's great for her. Like, I don't really know if she knows. And so yeah, for me, nothing to really rant about. It's just Rubina, she needs to make a move at some point to really get herself some real solid allies to take some power. But right now, just being a lone wolf that no one is actively coming after, I think she's all right. She could have been a big target this week. And somehow managed to dodge that, probably due to her wild ass ally in Tucker. So yeah, I think I was leaning toward 4, but my 4 wouldn't change much, so I'll stick with the 5.
Wow, another 5.
Oh boy. All right, let's move on then to T-Core. Man, this one's rough because I was loving T-Core last week. I feel like there's still a lot of promise in T-Core. She's active in a way that Kimo is not. And her position isn't as bad as Rubina's. But I still have a lot of criticism for her just not like locking in on things and not staying on top of things. And quite frankly, I think this idea of the fact that I do think it's possible she could potentially flip and take out Quinn this week, I think is wild. I think that's a terrible idea. And if she actually did it, my rating would plummet. But I don't think she will. But she might. But I don't think she will. But it's a problem that I think she might. And so there's a little bit of that going on there. So I'm going to punish her for primarily for not locking things in. Her position has definitely fallen. But I'm not going to go quite as low as a 5 because I do still feel like there's potential here. And I don't think that she, outside of that, did anything too actively wrong. So I'm going to give her the 6. It feels a little generous, to be honest, but I do still feel like she's got outs. And so that's what I'm going with. Oh, yeah.
All right. And you pass the mic to me. I think that's probably arguably the biggest flaw of T-Core's game is the lack of locking stuff up or getting something official going. All of that being said, though, I said this earlier, I think it is an art form to be able to your way through a conversation and not have people think you're giving me nothing, you don't care about what I have to say. They buy it for one reason or another. They buy it. They're okay with it. They're like, there's a way you leave that conversation feeling lighter, feeling better. And I think that's a benefit to her. I think it's worth noting that T-Core's request of don't put Rubina up carried so much weight that Cedric was unwilling to budge. That should show you that she has some kind of sway in there. She has some capabilities in there. I think, the biggest flaw is not really having a lockup. But I don't know. I feel like obviously she's not getting that 7 that she had last week. I think the game kind of went down a little bit here. The lack of locking stuff up can suffer for her. She can suffer from here. But I still think T-Core is going to be fine next week. And I still think that we have plenty of days to go till Thursday. We also don't know who's going on the block. I think some of these relationships are going to get patched up post this meltdown that the house was in yesterday. And I could see her being decent. I could see her being decent. So I'm gonna go ahead as well. And I do not have a 6 in my ratings. I've hit all the colors of the rainbow up until the 7, which I said was the ceiling. I'm gonna give her a 6 because I have a feeling that ain't coming to Tucker. So
Cool. Yeah, let's go ahead and get this 6 out the way for T-Core for me too. I agree with everything I was saying. I give more credit to Chelsie and Brooklyn right now because they're not actively making their game worse in their inactivity. I think that when T-Core is active, she was doing the things that I like to see. But now, I mean, her best alliance is kind of just in shambles. The whole Kimo and Quinn, like that. I felt like that was the 3 we should be looking at. But I think she's good with both sides. I think that she's fine. And I think that if she can bounce back and take control, then I'd be willing to give her another like a 7 or something like that. But right now, just I feel like she didn't move the needle in a positive way this time, so I'm giving her a 6.
All right. The audience agreed with us. They gave her a 6 as well. All right, Pooya.
Oh, let me, please.
Oh, Chappell, go ahead, please.
Pick me. This man could go home and it might be his own doing. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Everything that he's done this week, I have disagreed with. I don't understand how we got here. Why? None of this is okay. None of it is okay. I don't know how to grade this, what we just watched. Because if he goes home this week, I need to be able to retroactively go back and get that 0 we were going to give to Jag and the 0 that you tried to give out this week, Pooya. And we need to just go ahead and give one to Tucker because he's basically walking out the house on his own. He could literally get voted out this week if Kenney wins that AI competition, and if Quinn dear God, if Quinn gets all the votes, and it looks like Quinn could get all the votes. This is not a slam dunk move from Tucker. This is a kamikaze move.
Well, if it's not Quinn and it's anybody else, Chappell, there's no debate on whether or not there's votes. I think Tucker goes in that spot.
Yeah, and that's the wildest part. Is like you did this to yourself. You did, and so I don't like this at all. Angela's doing nothing, and I gave her a 2. But if this works, this is wild. This is a wild gameplay from this man. He will bounce back from it. It looks like they're already like his social game is good enough. But also, I have to look at this person as, is this the strategic force of the game? If this person going to be able to pull this off week by week and get all the way to the end, I just don't see it. The lowest score I gave out was Leah at this point. I think, Angela got the 2. Leah got a 2.
Kenney with the 1.
Kenney was the 1, yeah. Okay. Tucker can have the 2. He can have a 2 as well. Because he's not out the door at all by any means right now. But dear God, why did you do this? This was all bad. It was all self-inflicted, and I didn't like none of it.
I'll tell you this. it feels kind of weird because it's almost like Tucker doesn't actually want to be there. Like it's almost like he wants to go home. And so it doesn't feel like it's as big a mistake as it normally would. If Tucker was like, "Oh, I'm really scared that I might go home now," you'd be like, "Well, what are you doing then, dummy?" But because he's like, I don't even care. You're like, "Oh, I guess it's not that bad then." But the reality is, for the way I'm judging it, is that he should want to be there. And so, yeah, this is a no-brainer for me. It has to be one. I mean, he didn't use the veto on himself. This is like the biggest belly flop that we've seen in a long time in terms of like sending yourself out the door.
What's funny to me is that I like what the point you just made, Taran, about him not being afraid to go home. Right? He definitely does not care. If he goes home, he goes home. He keeps celebrating that I'm the reason why the game is being played right now, that is happening because I did this. No one was playing. It was boring. I did this. The funny thing to me is I think Kenney looks at Tucker and says, "You and I cut from the same cloth. I too am not afraid to go home." It's like there's a big difference here, Kenney. He's willing to go home and do whatever it takes. And if he goes home, he goes home. You are laying down and begging them to let you leave, but can I keep my stipend? Can I keep my $1,000? Sweet Kenny K has a grocery bill. No, get out. Anyway, I'm just mad at him.
Hedonism is expensive. It's $400 a night. And I read.
You've done your research? Okay.
No.
Listen, let's be very honest, everybody. If the Stockwatch was based on entertainment, if it was who provided fun content, Tucker is in a very good spot to get a high number here. That's not what this is for. But at the same time, y'all, can I be honest? As much as I resonate with your ratings, I'm going to give him a higher number. And I'll tell you why. In the event he does stay, I think he could be in a good spot. And I don't want some of these buy the dip people to go $100 stocks worth of Tucker and then take a massive lead. Not giving him a 5 because that's ridiculous. So here's the other thing. I'm like thinking on layers here, and maybe this is because I haven't slept right last night, but I like the idea of someone like a Quinn who may very well come back and watch all these back, see this and be like, "Oh, the week that Tucker did all that, didn't use the veto, he got a 3 as well, same as me." Yes. Give him a 3.
It's insanity.
Give him a 3.
Insanity.
But it's funny.
But insane.
But it's fun.
Insane. This man did not use the veto on himself. That insane.
I was gonna give him a +1 for entertainment personally.
He does get style points. I'll give him that.
I'm gonna give him a 3.
Here's the thing.
Insane.
The audience agreed with Pooya.
We are the same audience. You don't say that's not right in the chat. Pooya Jules Chaos Pooya, that's not right. You did this too. You're in bed with me on this one. We're together.
This is who you lay with, audience. This is who you lay with.
Here's the thing, though. Here's what I will say. I will say one thing about what you said, Pooya, which is that you're right. There is a chance he comes out of this not only unscathed, but maybe even in a better position. But what I will say to that is, I 100% believe that he will find a way to escape that good position and get back into this position.
He'll volunteer immediately somehow. He'll do it again. It makes no sense. Listen, let's be on the same page. Fundamentally, not using the veto on yourself is stupid. End of. And if you're there with like a family member or a loved one, like I understand you're gonna do that because that, so one of you gets to stay, whatever. Okay, cool. But then to use it on Angela, you are working with Kenney. Not that I want Kenney to stay. You are sitting on the block with someone that you're in this new alliance called the Ball Boys or whatever, and you use it to not save yourself, not save your ball boy, but to save Angela? Weird. It's the wrong.
Weird.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is the Stockwatch then for the week. I can tell you, I don't know how I got this lucky, but Brooklyn is a B. And she was the first person I saw that looked relatively safe. And in 30 seconds, I bought Brooklyn.
There you go. There you go. What can you say? You can't argue with her position. Taran,
No, you cannot. You actively
thank you for
can't.
having me on, Taran. I know before we started this podcast, Taran said I definitely want to make this go longer than 2.5 hours. So I'm actually going
We try.
He said more, as long as possible, honestly. So I'm gonna filibuster for about 10 minutes. But no, this has been so much fun. It's so hard to grade these people right now because they're not being normal. Just act like you're normal. Stop being weird. Then I'll be back.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then this week. What a week. There's so much that happened, and perhaps much more that will happen over the course of the next week. We will, of course, be back next week to rate the players once again. In the meantime, you can go to realittystockwatch.com, buy and sell, and maybe you'll get as lucky as me this week, and we'll see if that luck continues.
Taran, I'm gonna give you my login. You just buy my stocks from now on, okay? I'll give you a kickback.
I feel like I've used it all up.
I might just
that
retire.
That was genuinely like the clock was about to run out, and I just like smashed buttons.
Yeah. I was between Kimo and T-Core, and I just thought the Kimo bump would be more money, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So.
I did deliberately avoid the Kimo T-Core because I was worried they would fall based on their hesitancy, but that's where we are. I'll be back, of course, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, to update you on everything that happened today on the Big Brother 26 live feeds. Tomorrow nights, I'll be live on Twitch watching the episode. Come and hang out, watch it with me. We will also be live recapping the episode. It should be a doozy. This is the veto episode. So stay tuned for all of that. We've got the Getaway finale coverage coming tomorrow. We've got House of the Dragon stuff going on. We've got Tastemakers. We talked about the HBO shows happening at the moment over there on Tastemakers. So check all of that out. And Pooya, what you got going on?
Well, we're about to wrap up the finale of Traders New Zealand. It's in my top 3 trader seasons of all time. It was so much fun. I think they've nailed a fun formula in New Zealand. So myself and Shannon will be finishing that off. And then this week I'll be talking to Scally about part 2 of 5 tell-alls for 90 Day because we needed 5. But it's been fun so far. I'm not going to lie to you. So that's been good as well. And catch me on the wish list coming soon on the Survivor wish list. I'll give you that. And then follow me at Pooyaism on Twitter. Twitch.tv/Pooya for all my Twitch content for when I'm not podcasting. I'm streaming over there.
All right, Chappell.
Well, number one, you can find me on the slop. You can find me on the slop here on RHAP.
I heard good things about the slop this week.
It was fun.
Oh, it was good things. It were good, but it was naughty. It was not nasty, some would say. It gets real back there behind the paywall because we had a good guest on America, and it was a fun time. We talked about Julie Chen and balloon popping. We talked about in the past, we talked about slutty grandmas, Angela slutty grandma, like slutty mom. We've gone there on the slop, but again, it's too risque to put on the main podcast feed. So you have to join the Patreon, patreon.com/RHAP to join that. And then, of course, you can catch me in other places on the Nothing But Netflix podcast with Rob Cesternino every week, talking about Netflix shows, talking about Below Deck here on YouTube with Sasha every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern live. Most Wednesdays, the Peanut Gallery. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And then I did the Survivor 43 wish list with Mike Bloom. I also guested on the Bachelorette wrap up last week to talk about our surprise contestant on the Bachelorette with Haley and Amy. So you can check that out over there. And then I have my own podcast, Recap Kickback, where I'm talking about the Olympics, where I'm talking about House of the Dragon with Mari, and where I got much more coverage coming your way as well. So follow me on Twitter at Recap Kickback, and make sure you subscribe to Recap Kickback, youtube.com/@RecapKickback, and subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/Chappell's_show. Chappell's show. It's where I'm on there talking about this stuff, talking about RHAP, playing Pokemon, that kind of thing. So check me out in all those places and more.
Ooh, and Chappell and I are going to be talking Bel Air soon.
Yes, coming to Recap Kickback soon. Pooya and I will be talking about season 3 of Bel Air. So if you liked our House of the Dragon coverage, or if you're a big fan of Bel Air, or even just a big fan of Pooya and I, come check that out on Recap Kickback. You can subscribe, recapkickback.com/subscribe, and you can catch all of that and more on our YouTube page.
All right. Well, that is what we have for you then tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see all of you next time.
I want to be a part of you.